basically a one. Same. Jordan, you're good. Just talk over us. It's fine. Tell us we're a lot. I'll get it. I'll stop saying all the derogatory things that I say before these shows start. Everybody gets it. NBA Deeper Dive. That is where we are right now. It is Wednesday, November 1st, and we have a massive basketball slate ahead of us. 13 games. We have way more information than we did earlier today. That should help. Felipe Petrusev, sorry, getting shipped right back out of Los Angeles. Not going to make it. Head on over to the Kings. Lots to talk about, though. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Bet365. We got Jordan behind the virtual glass. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. We got a lot to talk about. Adam, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Glad that we got more information now than we had this morning. Still waiting on a decent amount of stuff, I think, but a lot of the big questions we had have been cleared up, so that's nice.
There's going to come a point in this show where I'm just going to tell you, talk for a bit. I'll make sure that it's like a team that we actually have something to talk about. I forgot to fill my water, and there's no way I'm going to make an hour and 15 minutes with no liquid in my cup.
I appreciate that you not filling your water becomes my problem, but yeah.
No problem whatsoever. Just do your job, and I'll be back when you're done. Ever the wordsmith over there. I can't. You're going to be like, what do you think of Shaedon Sharpe? Good.
Yeah.
Fly ball cut.
Small forward helpful. Next.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, lots to break down. I've run a crunch. I believe you're in the process of doing so.
Yep.
Is that what we're just going to call it, by the way?
I was thinking
is that just like,
and yeah, I feel like that's just become the word that refers to building lineups and figuring out what you're playing.
Yeah. Shouts Fantasy Cruncher, paving the way. Like, I don't know how I get them. I don't know what else I would call it. You run in Sims?
Right, yeah. But like you're building lineups first.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot easier to just say crunch, I think. Everybody knows what you mean.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to come a point, though, in like a year, maybe not.
Yeah, true.
You ready to get this started?
Yep.
The Portland Trailblazers are 4-point dogs in Detroit, 216.5 total. On the Portland side, that is where we shall start. No Anthony Simons. Otherwise, there is no other news that we need to care about. 26% ownership coming into 6K Shaedon Sharpe. 14% coming into a $5,700 Malcolm Brogdon. Sharpe not getting that sort of love on FanDuel. Jeremy Grant, however, is 6,300 small forward, power forward. He's 15% owned. Let's start with Sharpe, the highest owned guy there. How are you feeling about him? Shooting guard, small forward, great eligibility.
Yeah, the position eligibility is what's really important. It makes him look really good. You can roster him. You know, not only is small forward always valuable because it's just a tough spot to get good players, but shooting guard, small forward, you have the extra. You can roster at forward, you can roster at guard. So just more spots to get him to. That's going to push up his optimal percentage, which we have at about 21% right now, 25% ownership. But he's also going to get plenty of opportunities. He's playing big minutes. I believe leading Portland in minutes per game. I don't have that in front of me anymore. I had looked for it earlier, but if I remember correctly, he's leading the way. Yeah, 36 minutes per game through their first four. He's played more than that at times. So playing time's there, positions are there, opportunities with this team are there. Price tag is still very reasonable. I don't have any issues with him. You know, if you wanted to like find a reason not to play him or something, like there's always going to be plenty of guys from like 5,500 to 6,500 that can do the same things as Sharpe from a range of outcome standpoint, but from a position standpoint and a medium projection standpoint, he looks really good.
Well, I'm glad he looks really good because Shaedon Sharpe is currently my most exposed play of the day. 52% of my lineups for the 6K Shaedon Sharpe. I'm cool with that. Like, he gets free reign, basically. There's just not enough other legitimate bodies out there. And if Scoot's not going to be any sort of shoot first dude, his real competition is like Malcolm Brogdon.
Right. I'll say that's a big thing really to point out. You know, we had the conversation the other day about Scoot as far as people getting down on him too early and all of that. But it is important to note how he's playing out of the gate. If he's coming out there like Cam Thomas and just not scoring fantasy points because he's not making his shots, that's still really bad for everybody else on his team. But if he's coming out there just being a part of the offense and not being the offense, then it makes you feel, a lot better about guys like Sharpe.
Yep. We're in agreement. Shaden Sharp, by the way, on the season, 22.7% usage rate, but a crisp 55% true shooting. Nice to see what he's going to become. You landed on anybody else here from Portland? I got to 10% Brogdon. I don't really have anything else. 3% Jeremy Grant. There's just not much else for Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rebuilding everything right now, but I would expect Brogdon to be the only piece that I'm really getting to otherwise. Jeremy Grant's got a high ceiling, $6,200 forward, 7% ownership. I don't have a problem with that. $5,700 on Brogdon's a pretty nice price tag. DeAndre Ayton's playing time hasn't been great so far, but he has been in some foul trouble. We have Robert Williams back today. I think on average, you're probably getting 30 to 32 minutes from Ayton, assuming a competitive game. There's just a lot of centers on the slate. So to me, Sharp's the priority, and then Brogdon and Grant are probably the next two guys that I would get to.
Alrighty. On the Pistons side, we have a talking point, at least. Boyan, Livers, Monty Morris, all still out. Jalen Duren's still questionable. Now, we had the report earlier today that he did not go through shoot around, that Marvin Bagley was wearing the first team, whatever. That said, still not ruled out. I still have him in just because we're going to get this information at 6:30 either way, but let's just handle this, I guess, with the, like, if Duren's in, then nothing is really all that interesting for the Pistons. I like Isaiah Stewart, and I have a ton. I don't want that experience again, but it's happening. Ausar Thompson's getting a little bit of love. It's Duren being out that explodes the Pistons.
Yeah, Thompson's looking a little bit better today, or now, than he did this morning. He was showing up in the lineup generator a pretty good amount for me. His ownership's gone up to about 14%. I think he was around 7 this morning. We have him up to a 17% chance of being optimal. So he is looking better. Again, that's just a mid-range value piece, small forward eligible, which is nice, giving you about 30 minutes per game. But Jalen Duren's the really big piece. If he's in, he doesn't look great because his salary's up to $7K. Isaiah Stewart looks fine just because he's 5,400 and should play, if he avoids foul trouble and everything, like 34 minutes. But not great or anything like that. It's if Duren's out, Isaiah Stewart looks marginally better just because you don't have Jalen Duren grabbing every rebound next to him, and maybe you're going to get a few minutes at the 5. But the report, was that Duren missed shoot around and Marvin Bagley was with the starters. If you're going to get a 4K Marvin Bagley starting with power forward eligibility, that becomes a really, really difficult value piece to get away from. I don't think we've really had many of those so far this year, at least in the since I've, the couple days I've been back doing shows. We've had value pieces that, maybe you play a lot of, like Dean Wade, but you haven't had value pieces that it's like, this guy's really popular and I have no idea what the case for not playing him would be. That's how it is.
The Tyus Jones when Ja's not playing.
Right, exactly. We haven't had that kind of guy. Marvin Bagley is that if he moves into the starting lineup here. He played 4 games last year where Duren was out and Wiseman. He played 4 games as a starter without Duren, I think is what it was, what I had searched. He played like 34 minutes per game in those. As a starter overall last year, 25 starts, averaged about 26 to 27 minutes per game. He's a good point per minute guy. Like, even if you just give him 26, 27 minutes with power forward eligibility, he's going to be showing up a ton. It opens the door if you want to gamble on a 3K James Wiseman as presumably the backup center. I would expect him to get like 16 or so minutes if Duren's out and Bagley is starting, but you have the potential for Bagley to get in foul trouble, Wiseman to actually play well or something and just get more minutes. But it also makes Stewart look a little bit better if Duren's out, because not only are you taking Duren off the floor, you're probably going to get a couple of center minutes, or you could get a couple center minutes from Stewart if they don't split 48 between Bagley and Wiseman. So it really opens up a lot there. And then you could argue there's a potential trickle down too for guys like Alec Burks or Jaden Ivey off the bench. That's a little bit deeper than I think I would be going on this slate. Yeah. But it is worth at least thinking about, where, my expectation is that they would do something like 28 minutes for Bagley, 16 for Wiseman, 4 at center for Stewart. But let's say they went like 28 Bagley, Wiseman only plays like 8, and Stewart plays the rest at center. Then you're getting those minutes for guys like Burks and Ivy most likely. So again, deeper than I think you should be going on this slate, but Duren being out really does open up quite a bit for the Pistons.
You mentioned rebounding before for Isaiah Stewart. Just wanted to add, I don't know if I assume you haven't noticed this yet because this man has played 4 basketball games. Ausar Thompson, 14% offensive rebounding rate. That's 96th percentile, 21.5% defensive rebounding rate, 80th percentile. He's actually a guy pulling down a ton of boards here, projected for like somewhere in that 7.5 range. He's actually the real big problem for Isaiah Stewart if Duren is out. He might actually project for. I'd be really interested to see how much Asar Thompson's rebounding would go up if Duren was gone, because obviously Duren has just been a monster on the glass this season.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say it's a benefit for Thompson also.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 35% Isaiah Stewart right now. That did not work out well last time. I just, I look at it. He's like a 0.95 guy. He's going to play the minutes, power forward. I'm going to eat it here. The only saving grace is that it's against Portland. Like, I just hope that when I open the app, this game isn't 87-83 or something. And it's just like, oh, cool. Nothing in this game is valuable.
Except whoever's grabbing all those missed shots.
Correct. I have nothing else here for Portland or Detroit. Keep your eye on the Jalen Duren news. It's the very, very important piece for the 7 o'clock tip-off. You'll know by 6:30. Hopefully.
Yeah, so I just...
go ahead.
I just finished what I was doing with lineups. From this game, I'm actually getting a ton of Brogdon right now. Again, like, take it with a grain of salt, but I do think Brogdon's a pretty good tournament play at the ownership he's getting. I'm getting a good amount of Sharp, a little bit over the field there. So from the Portland game, from the Portland side, that's pretty much what I'm getting. From the Detroit side, right now, actually getting to Alec Burks, which again, I think that's probably going to change, but I at least get it. He's 4,600. He's small forward eligible. He's not getting any ownership. He's probably playing 24 to 26 minutes, somewhere in there. So I can make a case for it. I don't love that I'm getting to it, but
I have 8%.
Yeah, I guess, worth noting, since I kind of like talked him up for no reason, and then now I looked and I realized I actually have him. So
yeah, he's in 8% of my lineups. Oh, my sheet is freezing a bit. Let's close that bad boy. Milwaukee Bucks, 5-point favorites in Toronto, 224 total. The ownership currently on Milwaukee, 1% to Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is the high mark on DraftKings. It's 4 on FanDuel, where he's 10,800. Much easier to get to him on FanDuel side. I don't have a single share of a Milwaukee Buck.
I don't expect to get to much either. Just quickly looking through my stuff, I don't see anything that stands out. Giannis is Giannis, but you can only really expect like 32 minutes there. Dame is priced up. Drew Holiday is reasonably priced, but there's a million good guards in that range. It's really tough to want to get to the Bucks.
Yeah, I legitimately don't have anything else to add, and we have 26 teams to talk about.
We have the entire team projected for less than 1% ownership.
Yeah,
and we have Giannis with a 1% chance of being optimal, and everybody else less.
So, yep, that's Milwaukee. We go to Toronto. On the Toronto side, 8% ownership to Dennis Schroeder is the high mark on the DK side. 11% to Pascal Siakam is the high mark on the FanDuel side. Not a lot of love coming in here. I don't really love the matchup all that much. I have a little bit of Jakob Poeltl, a little bit of Scotty Barnes. Like, these are just like 5% dudes to me.
Yeah, there's nothing I really love there. Barnes, Poeltl, Schroeder, the guys I think I would get to first. No Precious Achiuwa again, so Poeltl likely playing, 25, 26 minutes. Again, we talked about it this morning. There are other ways they can go, whether that's closing with Gary Trent, closing with Grady Dick. They don't have to close with Poeltl, but his projection does go up a little bit without Achiuwa backing him up. Scotty Barnes is point guard, small forward, which is really nice. Really good at everything. The problem is just he is up to 7,800. And while that's not a price tag that on its face is a problem, it becomes more problematic when you have all of these 6K guys that are, $1,800 less expensive and going to just make your lineups project a little bit better if you save the money there. So pretty tough team to prioritize much from. I don't really see anything standing out right now in the lineups that I have.
No, like I said, 5% Jake Puddle, 4% Barnes. This is a game that I don't need to go to double OT. That's for sure.
Right. Glad you said that.
It worked well for the Spurs yesterday.
Yeah.
Wizards, your Wizards, 8.5-point dogs in Atlanta, 238 total. This is the biggest total on today's slate. There is no ownership coming in on the Washington side of this one, probably because there's no talent on the Washington side of this one. Daniel Gafford is questionable. That's mildly relevant. He looks okay. He did go through shoot around. Okay. Assuming he's going to play here, highest owned guy is 7% on Kyle Kuzma on DraftKings. It's 15% to Kuzma on FanDuel, 14 for Jordan Poole. I got to 6% Kuzma and basically nothing else. These guys are pretty tough to roster in a DFS contest.
Yeah, they're pretty tough to get to. Kuzma is the guy that I would expect to get to first as well. One thing that I did notice when I did the lineup generator video earlier is that Jordan Poole showing up quite a bit on FanDuel. He was projected for about 15% ownership at the time. Right now, we have him on FanDuel at 14% ownership, 24% chance of being optimal. He's just cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. So I think if you're getting the pool, you should be doing it on FanDuel. 1% owned on DraftKings at 7,900. Kuzma getting 6.5% ownership at 7,500 looks fine, but it's kind of like we were just saying with Scotty Barnes, where you're just going to get lineups that look a lot better typically, I think, if you are paying down at that spot. So should be a high scoring game. And, Kuzma does have, I get, some positive correlation with guys like DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, whoever you're going to from Atlanta, but pretty tough to want to get to the Washington side, especially on DraftKings.
Kid Catastrophe says 13 game slate, play 0 Eagles, play 0 chalk. How's that going to work out for you tonight, Adam?
Good luck.
All righty. Well, now we got a team to talk about. Atlanta Hawks. Tons of ownership coming in here. It's incredible what happens when you play the worst team in the league. 10% ownership to Bogdan Bogdanovic. 19 to Clint Capella. Just so we can keep it in the same family. 22% to Onyeka Okongwu. 29% to DeJounte Murray. 20 to Jalen Johnson. 12 to Trae Young, who is still on the injury report. Yes, still questionable. Tons and tons of ownership here. I am over on Capella, Murray, Johnson, Okongwu, and Trae Young. I have all things Atlanta coming at you, you and your garbage Wizards.
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't even catch that I included Drew when I was talking about Milwaukee. But
these guys are like, I can't believe Josh didn't say anything. You think I'm listening? I didn't even know he did it.
And especially like what I said was the price tag on him is fine, but like he doesn't look very good, which is true on whatever team he's playing for. Just said it before the Boston game. But Murray looks great here. He was my highest owned guy this morning. Still getting a lot of him. Showing up in around 50% of my lineups now, projected for 29% ownership. He will look even better if Trae Young ends up not playing. That is a big bump for Murray, but either way, at 7,300, like he's good with Young. He's just even better if he's out. So really happy to get there. If Young plays, he's fine. 12% ownership on DraftKings. He's getting a bit more on FanDuel, but Murray to me really looks like the priority. I'm getting to a lot of Okongwu right now at 3,900. That is somebody that I expect to still get to if Duren is out, but to get less of. Like Marvin Bagley in a lot of lineups where like Okongwu is the really cheap value piece, that's just going to become Bagley. In lineups where I'm paying down multiple times, there's still nothing wrong with going Okongwu plus Bagley. Like at 3,900, Okongwu is underpriced. You're expecting basically a minute split between him and Capella. I think that expecting, an extra minute or two for Capella is probably right. 25, 23, 26, 22, something like that. But if you're getting 22, 23 minutes on average from Okongwu, I think that's very good still at 3,900, especially in this spot.
I have so much of these dudes.
Okongwu, if the slate started right now, and this, again, it's totally different than it's going to be, but Okongwu would be my second highest owned guy on DraftKings.
48% to Murray, 37 of Okongwu, 33 of Capella, 30 of Jalen Johnson, 28 of Trae Young, which I really like if he is somehow like lower owned because of his news.
Yeah. Right now I'm at 66 on Okongwu, 46 on Murray, 26 on Jalen Johnson, 16 on Trae Young. Not really getting Capella.
You want to?
I wouldn't be upset if I did, but I think I also get why I'm not. Like if I'm playing, for one, Okongwu is in 2/3 of my lineups right now. So that knocks down how much Capella I'm going to get to. Getting to Şengün a good amount at center.
Okay.
Getting some Christian Wood, which I don't hate.
Bet you don't. I'm just going to have a ton of Atlanta. I don't have anything else to say. It's the best spot on the slate, and that's the direction I'm going. So I hope they win.
Right now, at least. Well, best spot, at least in terms of matchup and everything.
Yeah. I mean, as a team, in the aggregate, they've got to be the best team no matter really what happens today.
Yeah,
right?
I guess since we got Clippers news that those guys aren't sitting,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
that, like if Duran's
Yeah.
out, right? Yeah, yeah. If Duran's out, the Pistons look really good, but still not as good as Atlanta, probably.
Right. Okay. I don't have anything else here. So it's time for you guys to get a little bit of a treat, an NBA treat, I might say. Lineup generator. We talked a lot about Sims over the first week and change, and that's what our deal was for. Now we're turning it over to the lineup generator. If you're like a 1 lineup, 2 lineup, 3 lineup guy, even upwards of 20, this is the tool you're looking for. And if funds are a little tight, even better. Lineup generator $4.95 for your first week. This is an incredible deal for the large majority of people that are watching this show. We generate all the lineups on the back end. We get rid of everything that we don't evaluate as a good lineup. We present the rest to you. You could pick chalky lineups, balanced lineups, contrarian lineups, lock players, swap players around in the lineup if you want. You can click save, and that lineup gets locked in for you, and another one pops up. Click discard, another one just pops up. Move dudes around if you want to. After you save all your lineups, got a nice little table of all of your exposures. It's a very easy, quick way for you guys to put together better lineups than you were probably making beforehand. It's a cheap deal here, $4.99. Hard to pass up that kind of offer. If you've been looking to get into the stochastic family, I think this is the best way that you can do it. Click the link in my tweet that I put out earlier. That will be a much better benefit than this show. Links in the description and in chat, by the way.
What?
You're good. You're good.
Somebody asked how many Atlanta guys in single entry large field, which I don't know exactly what that is, but
doesn't exist.
Either way, I think my answer is probably 2 or 3. Like most of my top lineups right now have 2 of them.
Yeah,
it's not something like it's always tough to answer those questions because like I'm not going into building a lineup like, okay, I need to get 2 or 3 Atlanta guys, but
yeah,
my best lineups are typically having 2 or 3, mostly 2.
And shout out to William Wallen for the super chat. First super chat on a stream ever. Good to see. Yeah, like I have 191% ownership in the aggregate to Atlanta. That's probably going to mean I have like 1 in just about every lineup, 2 in some, and probably a scattered amount of 3. And I don't mind that at all, given some of the pricing. Like if the third guy is Onyeka Okongwu, okay. All right, let's keep it moving. Indiana, 11.5-point dogs in Boston, 235 total. Couple things on the injury report here for the Pacers. Benedict Mathurin questionable, Jalen Smith questionable, Tyrese Halliburton questionable. If those guys are all in, I don't want anything here. Miles Turner, I think, is fine at 6,700, but I don't like Indiana at all unless we start losing bodies.
Yeah, with these guys projected in, I'm just not getting to this team, and I'm perfectly fine with that. You know, Halliburton, Turner, these guys are obviously good, but price tags are where they should be. Matchup sucks. Tons of good plays on a 13-game slate. Outside of like, you know, just a random lineup that has one of those guys, I just don't see getting there. And right now, I don't even have a random lineup with those guys.
3% of Miles Turner is all I got. And like, that's just random to me.
Yeah,
so
I have 0 Indiana at the moment.
Yeah. Now, if Halliburton gets ruled out, if Halliburton and Mathurin get ruled out, that's where things go crazy. If it's just Halliburton, we are going to open up some value. It's just going to be really hard to figure out who it is.
Right. It's going to be, you know, is McConnell moving into the starting lineup? We talked this morning. Andrew Nembhard, when he's playing without either one of Halliburton or McConnell, is extremely productive. When he's playing with, even if it's just McConnell, he typically, at least, you know, last year took a back seat. Maybe he evolves this year, but this is also a tough spot. So it will open some stuff up, but also the prices are not expensive, but they're not cheap. Like this isn't a situation where if those guys are out, it's like, all right, well, somebody has to come through out of Nembhard, Nesmith. You know, they're north of 5K already.
Yeah, 54 for Nesmith, 51 for Nembhard, 55 for Mathurin when he's in, 5,600 for Bruce Brown. Like,
right.
It's like the same prices across the board.
Whereas right now they just look completely useless. They'll look better, but we'll see this later with Davion Mitchell too. People have a tendency when somebody gets ruled out to be like, oh, there have to be must plays here because some big name got ruled out. It's more in this case going to be there's decent plays now because the prices are already relatively high and they're playing the Celtics.
Boston side is kind of comparable. 8% ownership to Drew on DK. He's a Boston Celtic, by the way. That is the high mark.
Yeah, I don't have him. I don't have him as a Buck. I don't have him as a Celtic.
Fair enough. 8% though, high mark on DraftKings. It's 13 on FanDuel, as is 13% to Derek White on FanDuel, 10 to Porzingis. I have a little bit of all these dudes. 6% of Jaylen Brown, 2% of Tatum, 3% of Drew Holiday, 10% of Kristaps Porzingis. That feels about right. None of these guys are a priority, but every time one of them pops up, that'll work.
Yeah, right now Jaylen Brown's the one that I'm actually getting to. I have about 14% of him. Same reason, really, that I played him the other day against Washington. Obviously, it worked out there. You're not expecting it to work out like that very often, but it's still a Celtics team where production's going to vary from game to game, who's really running the offense. But at 7,700 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility, Brown's just going to have enough of those games where he carries everything that at 5% ownership, he looks pretty interesting. So I'm getting around 14% there. Other than that, I'm getting like nothing from this team.
Yeah, it's minimal. I like having 10% of KP.
Holy
like shit, what a Darwin Nunez goal. God damn.
He's the only other Celtic that I have, but it's like 2%.
Yeah, okay. It's just really hard in this spot, especially like if Halliburton gets ruled out. I mean, they're going to be 2 touchdown favorites. I made that joke already, but maybe people didn't watch the strategy show.
Yeah, there's that, but like it's just difficult anyway because and I think another reason that Brown's showing up is the positions. Not only that he's eligible at shooting guard, small forward, but like Porzingis is 8,200 at power forward. There's value there, and potentially even more if Duren gets ruled out. Tatum's expensive. Drew 6,800, but you already have a lot of guards in this price range that are going to get ownership. Jaylen Brown, at least gives you kind of an interesting option at small forward where he's pretty cheap for the production he can give you, but also the potential to just give you a huge leg up because there's a lot of potential traps at that small forward position.
The Brooklyn Nets are 6.5-point dogs in Miami. We have a 223 total on this one. No Nick Claxton, no Spencer Dinwiddie, no Cam Johnson. We did get Dennis Smith Jr. upgraded to questionable today, which is probably not meaningful in any way. It's just you don't project some other random dude to get those scattered minutes. 20% ownership coming into Lonnie Walker. It's 34 on FanDuel. 23 coming into Ben Simmons. It's 31 on FanDuel. And then 16 coming in to Cam Thomas at 6,600. I have a little bit of these guys, 11 of Simmons, 15 of Thomas, 19 of Walker. I actually thought I'd end up with a little bit more, particularly of Cam Thomas. It's just not happening right now.
Yeah, I thought I'd end up with more Thomas. I thought I'd end up with more Walker. I'm not getting them much of either of those guys. I have about 12% Cam Thomas. I have like 2% Lonnie Walker, which I don't love. Shooting guard, small forward, 4,800 for Lonnie Walker. This is a spot where I think he's a good play. He's not showing up in the lineups that I built right now that may or may not hold, but that doesn't make me think he's a bad player or anything. It's a good price point. He can score, a bit. I'm getting around the field on Simmons, which I like. Point guard, small forward. Expect him to play a big role as a facilitator with no Dinwiddie. You and I talked about it this morning. Dinwiddie being out isn't so much an issue for the Nets scoring. Like Cam Thomas is still going to get his shots. Mikal Bridges will still get his shots. It's a bigger issue for, who's going to have the ball and who's going to facilitate for this team. That's not what Cam Thomas does. It's not what Mikal Bridges does. It is what Ben Simmons does. And so, it makes him look better. The positional eligibility is really nice. The guy from this team that I'm getting a lot of right now that may or may not hold, and I don't really care either way how it goes. I'm getting to a good amount of Royce O'Neal, and I understand why. Like, I don't want a lot of Royce O'Neal. As better value opens up, I expect he will disappear a bit. But right now, you just have a $4,700 small forward that's 4% owned and has a similar range of outcomes to a lot of the guys that are getting a lot more ownership than him. So he's just showing up as, a good play for me from a standpoint of I can play relatively popular guys in a lineup and then mix in Royce O'Neal and, one or two other guys that I'm different. So he's showing up for me a bit right now. I think that is more just ownership and, current ownership based than anything. Ben Simmons, Lonnie Walker, Cam Thomas, the guys that are actually going to look good here.
I did get to 6% O'Neal, so I'm a little bit with you on that one.
Yeah.
Precious Achiuwa ruled out. So we did get that news. To the Miami side, 8% ownership to Kevin Love, 8% ownership to Tyler Hero. No one across FanDuel or DraftKings is in double digits. We know Bam Adebayo, probable. Jimmy Butler, probable. Haywood Highsmith, probable. Kevin Love is now questionable. Caleb Martin out. Josh Richardson and Duncan Robinson both available. I got 11% of Hero. That's probably the extent of what I want here. I actually did get to 8% Kevin Love. I'm not confident he's playing today, and they're perfectly set up to just run out Haywood Highsmith in those minutes. So I don't love it, but if I'm going to anybody, it's Hero.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of Kevin Love earlier. I'm not now. I'm around 12% on Hero, which I'm perfectly fine with. It's not a team that I really like all that much. I said it on the show this morning when Kevin Love was showing up. I said it on the lineup generator video when he was showing up. I think he kind of was just serving as a placeholder for me, where that's going to turn into a bunch of Bagley. It's going to turn into some other guys. In this most recent run, it's turned into Okongwu at 3,900. So the price point is really useful, just not really getting to him in particular anymore. Hero, like I said, around 12%. So a little bit over the field there. No problems with that.
Yeah. It's really all I want. I definitely don't need any major amounts of Jimmy Butler or Bam or anything today. Okie dokie. We go to Cleveland. Running this game back. It was such a gem last night. Cleveland Cavaliers are 6-point dogs in New York. 210 total. This is the lowest total on today's slate by 6 points. Disgusting. No Jared Allen, no Darius Garland, no Ty Jerome. Q-tag on Karis LeVert. Highest owned guy on the Cleveland team. 2% to either Max Strus or Donovan Mitchell. 1 to LeVert. You and I both know. Somehow Dean Wade and Max Strus are going crazy today unowned. Playing the exact same stupid game the day after. I don't want a single share of Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's obviously going to happen. We also just got Jalen Duren game time decision, which is just annoying. But yeah, I'm not getting to Cleveland. You could tell me that this game gets postponed, and I don't think I would have to change anything.
It's bad. I don't know if you just said that, so my apologies. I refreshed my Twitter. If Karis LeVert is out, we're going to Craig Porter. Went on the heater yesterday.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change anything for me. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible DFS game.
Yeah, it's just a completely different spot than yesterday because you have so many other things to get to. I really, it's possible I missed somebody, but I don't think in the 50 lineups that I just built, I have a single player from Cleveland or the Knicks.
I don't have a single share in my 150 of anyone from Cleveland. I'm about to hit the Knicks. I assume I have a couple Knicks just by default because they don't look as shitty, but Cleveland does. Yeah, no more than 7% of Julius Randle, so it's not exactly a stand. RJ Barrett's questionable. That does have pretty major trickle-down effects if he happens to be ruled out, but no one is getting ownership from the Knicks across DraftKings or FanDuel. I got 7% of Randle. This is just a terrible game to get to.
Yeah. I right now have none of either team. If I'm going to the Knicks, I think Randle looks fine at 8,100, but nowhere near as good as he did yesterday just because the slate is different. He's the only guy getting really any ownership at all.
Who's the guy if Barrett's out? Josh Hart?
Probably, but it also could be anybody. I mean, you could get more quickly. You could get more DiVincenzo. I assume it's Hart.
I wouldn't be surprised if everybody that normally plays is just the people that get that much. They might put Miles McBride back into the rotation. I mean, he was active last year, so.
Yeah,
I don't know if Randle. I don't know if I would describe it as Randle smacked yesterday. He had 38 fantasy points.
He was kind of completely mediocre.
He did not pop off. Oh, Hart. I see what you're saying, Big Top. How do you feel about Hartenstein? He's the Knicks and Onyeka Okongwu at no ownership, basically.
Except I don't think he's Onyeka Okongwu.
No, but it's like the homeless man's version.
Yeah, if things break his way, he can get the playing time that you're expecting Okongwu to get, basically.
Yeah. They would rather play Okongwu has some gravitas with the team,
right?
Whereas Hartenstein is just the backup, and they don't really give a shit who's playing best for Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein. They're just happy it's one of them,
right? And
they're not trying to groom Hartenstein for their new center spot,
right? They're usually unless he's playing really well, they're not really going to be oh yeah, Hartenstein's just going to close this game over Robinson. Whereas Atlanta will close with Okongwu a pretty decent percentage of the time.
I have nothing else here. Are we ready to keep it moving?
Yep.
The New Orleans Pelicans are 3.5-point dogs in Oklahoma City, 227 total. Pels, no Alvarado, no Najee Marshall, no Trey Murphy. Q tag on Brandon Ingram. Do you see anything for shoot around for him?
I have not.
10% ownership coming into CJ McCollum, 7 for Ingram, none for Zion, which is exactly what it probably should be if everybody's in. 12% to Ingram on FanDuel. I basically don't have anybody here other than 5% of Ingram. I don't think CJ is a problem or anything, but to me, there are no priorities.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot less CJ than I was this morning, which I don't really care either way. I think he was one of the guys that I said, I'm getting 30%. I wouldn't be surprised later if it's, if I'm under the field. He's just kind of a guy at 7,200, but still prioritizing DeJounte Murray at that price point. What has really changed for me from this morning is Kyrie not playing. And so Luka's getting guard ownership. I'm getting to more Brogdon than I was. I'm getting to more Jordan Clarkson than I was. So those guys are just taking away guard ownership from McCollum. They're a little bit less expensive with the exception of Luka. So, I don't have any issue with getting to him. We do have him going a little bit under owned, but not getting nearly as much as I was this morning.
Okay. Oklahoma City. Highest owned guy on the DraftKings side is 5% Jalen Williams. It's 6% Giddey on FanDuel. I got 8% to Giddey. I have very little else. I would not mind at all if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander started showing up in my lineups because that would be really fun to cheer for. It's just not happening.
Yeah, it's just so tough to get to that price tag, especially even assuming more value opens up, it makes him look better. But with how strong the mid-range at point guard is, and then also having Luka at the top, as more value opens up, you're just still prioritizing getting all the way to Luka over SGA. You're still probably prioritizing getting to Jokic at a different position or getting to Anthony Davis at a different position over SGA. So it still becomes tough. Josh Giddey's the guy I'm getting to the most from OKC, getting around 6% on DraftKings, so 2x the field, but not really going crazy with anything from OKC.
Yeah, very minimal. 8 of Giddey, 5 of Jalen Williams. Fun game. I'd like to watch. I hope Ingram plays. It's a lot of talent out there for starting lineups. Seeing the dichotomy of Zion Williamson and Chet Holmgren is going to be really interesting when they stand next to each other. Just this bowling ball of a human being and this tall, light post next to him. Insane. All right, we're basically at the halfway point. So now we got to talk at least a little bit about Bet365. They are the sponsor of this video. If you live in one of the following states, pay close attention. This is for you. Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado. Those are the states that are going to get this deal. Click the link in the description or click the link in chat. Bet $5, get $150. It's that easy. We'll have plays on the OddsShopper YouTube channel. You could use oddshopper.com if you want to help get some more plays. We're talking about a market-based approach to beating the books. We're giving out expected value rates and expected win rates. We're taking the advanced analytics way that we look at DFS, applying it to sports betting. So if you like OddsShopper, sign up for that as well. But if you just want to simply start off a little bit of a bankroll at a sports book, bet 5 to get 150 at Bet365. It is that simple. Now, you have to be 21 or over. Or if you live in Kentucky, 18 or over. And if you have a gambling problem, I need you to call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We keep it moving. Charlotte Hornets, 3-point dogs in Houston, 222 total. 11% ownership coming into PJ Washington, another 7 to Terry Rozier. Single digits across the board for FanDuel. I think a couple of these guys look decent, and this matchup should be good for DFS, but it's just not resulting in me having these guys. I have 5% of Rozier.
Yeah, it should be a good spot. It's just hard to get to them because of their positions and their prices. Rozier only shooting guard eligible. He's more expensive than a lot of the guards that I'm getting to right now. LaMelo's really expensive. It's tough to get there. PJ Washington makes some sense. I'm getting around 8%, which is pretty much in line with the field. I'm getting more John Collins at that price point and position. I'm getting more Jalen Johnson. I'm getting more Jabari Smith on the other side of this game. So that's, pushing him down a little bit. But I think Washington's the easiest guy to get to. Rozier probably second, but it's tough to really get to these guys.
Yeah, I didn't get any of my boy Mark Williams. I'm surprised I didn't get a little bit more of PJ Washington, but not happening.
John Collins.
Probably because of Isaiah Stewart.
What'd you say?
It's probably because of Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, you have a lot of him
for me. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. I don't have anything else for sure. I'm trying to like figure out if I can like squeeze something out of this because of this matchup against Houston. I don't see it.
No, me neither. And like I typically get to a good amount of Rozier. It's just like right now, if I look at shooting guard, it's going the guys that are cheaper: Clarkson, Brogdon, DeJounte Murray in the same price range, but just looks a lot better. Sharp is cheaper. Bane is more expensive, but also projects a bit better. Yeah, like Jalen Green. I'm just not really getting. I'm not getting much in that price range, and when I do, it's guys that there's a gap in their projection.
I am getting a bunch of the Houston side, though. 28% ownership coming into Şengün, 24 to Jabari Smith, 21 to Jalen Green. We've got Şengün, Van Vliet, Smith, and Jalen Green all getting double-digit ownership on the FanDuel side. I've got so much Jalen Green that he is my second most exposed guy. I'm over the field a little bit on Jabari Smith. I'm right around the field on Şengün, and I'm doubling up Fred Van Vliet. And now, somehow, I don't have Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, so I don't have Dillon Brooks either, and I talked about having a bunch of Royce O'Neal earlier. I think Dillon Brooks is the same type of play where he's just not popular. The playing time for him is going to be there. You know that. He's probably not going to do anything with it. But, if you wanted to just sort of punt the position, like where I have Royce O'Neal and Alec Burks, if you turn some of that into Dillon Brooks, that's perfectly fine. If you don't, that's also perfectly fine. But the rest of the Houston starters, look pretty good. I am getting more than I was this morning. Still not quite with the field, but Şengün looks good at center, getting around 26% of him. Jabari Smith is inexpensive, getting around, a quarter of my lineups. 14% Jalen Green, the scoring upside that comes with him. So Houston quite a bit easier to get to, it looks like, than the Hornets are.
So much of this team. I really wish I had a little bit more of the Charlotte side, just because if this actualizes, I probably want somebody, but it's just not happening. I don't know why I'm not getting Dillon Brooks now. So the fact that I'm not is an incredibly telling thing to anybody that watches these shows regularly. It is going to frustrate me to no end. Houston probably the second best team behind Atlanta.
I mean, it depends on Duren.
Right.
Duren's out, so no.
Oh, there we go.
All right, I can. Well, I'm done mentioning exposures because they no longer matter.
Yep, that changes everything. Good to know. By the way, Ryan Houston in chat. I wasn't assuming Duren was out because I didn't have to. It's a 7:00 game.
Yeah, but now he is out.
Yeah, so he is out. So no Jalen Duren. Pay attention to that lineup that gets announced at 6:30, assuming it's at 6:30, because that one's going to be very important. They're going to start somebody stupid. I know it.
The only reason that I'm thinking, I mean, they already have the report that Bagley was with the starters, which makes me think it's Bagley because he's the logical answer and he was with the starters. But yeah, you and I talked this morning. Like, it wouldn't be surprising at all if it's Wiseman. It wouldn't be surprising at all if they throw Ivy into the starting lineup and slide Stewart down. Like,
they're ripe for a lot of dumb
last
shit.
year you were getting like guys that I didn't know were even in the NBA getting spot starts for this team.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Can't wait. Trae Young listed as available to play.
Good. I won't get more DeJounte Murray than I already have.
Denver Nuggets, 2-point favorites in Minnesota, 220 total. Highest owned guy for Denver on DraftKings is 5% owned Jamal Murray. He's 12 on FanDuel. Nikola Jokic, unowned. Do they need to lower the prices of studs?
I don't really think so. I think so. One, this is going to change just because we're getting more value now. But I think Luka is affecting it too. He just projects so much better than everybody else because of Kyrie being out. But like usually, if you make Luka 12.6 and Jokic 12K, once value opens up, you're kind of just going to get neutral, similar ownership to both guys. Today, though, like we have Luka 6.5, 7 points higher than Jokic.
Yeah, I didn't get any shares of Jokic. That's not fun. I don't like having basically none of all of the guys that are live for 80.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. But yeah, I didn't get to Jokic at least right now either. Again, it's going to be easier to do. So like thinking too, just about the way that my exposures were set up before and why Bagley is such a big deal at power forward. If I'm using Onyeka Okongwu as my value piece or a value piece in 2/3 of my lineups, that's making it really, really hard to then be also getting to Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can just play Bagley at power forward and not take away one of Jokic's spots. Like, it's still probably just going to get me to more Luka Doncic, but who your value pieces are obviously have a huge impact there as well. And this
Anything
is also
else for
why,
Denver?
What?
Anything else for Denver?
I was gonna, just as an aside, it's also why like we keep harping on the cheap small forwards being so valuable, because they're not costing you roster spots that you can use for Luka or for Jokic or for Davis. Like, you know, your guards and your centers are. But no, I don't really have anything for Denver. It's just another team where if you have one of the good Denver players in a lineup, like, by all means, don't take them out. They are perfectly fine. They just aren't the best point per dollar projections. They're not the best overall projections, and that's going to make it so they don't end up being the most popular guys.
The Minnesota side is equally unappealing. Highest owned guy on DraftKings, 6% to Naz Reid, 5% to Karl Anthony Towns on FanDuel. I got to 6% of Mike Conley. I have 5% of Reid. That is certainly going to go away once all this Detroit stuff ends up happening. But there are, again, this is just like not a game I'm going to have.
Same. Right now, like 4% Reid, which probably just turns straight into Marvin Bagley. Very similar to Denver. You know, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, Conley, all varying levels of fine or good.
Yeah.
You know, Anthony Edwards can have a massive game. It's just that you can't go into it saying like, oh, they can have a massive game, because suddenly you just have a list of 40 guys that can have a massive game, and you have to figure out where to put them in lineups. So it's just, again, you know, Anthony Edwards, 1% owned, shooting guard, small forward, in a lineup that could be a really good play, like an individual lineup, but you're just not going to have him showing up all that often. And it's the same thing for Towns, Gobert, Conley.
Chicago Bulls, 4-point dogs in Dallas, 220 total. For the Bulls side, Zach LaVine's probable. No other status matters. None of it really matters. 6% ownership coming into Zach LaVine is the high mark on DK. It's 10 on FanDuel. I have 5% of LaVine. That's my high mark for Chicago. I basically don't have this team. If you want to play Zach LaVine or Vooch or DeMar DeRozan, like, they're all okay.
This feels like such a small 13-game slate right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the same thing. You just have a bunch of healthy teams that are correctly priced. And then you have a couple of teams that are either not correctly priced or are dealing with injuries. And that's what you're seeing. But LaVine, I'm getting around 6%. So right around the field. DeRozan, Vooch, those guys are fine. I was actually getting 10% in Drummond just because we needed value, and he's 3,800. I'm sure that will disappear now. LaVine's my favorite guy here just because, again, you do have small forward eligibility. That similar price tag to somebody like Jaylen Brown. Similar play, I think. I'm getting to more Brown, but, you know, same idea where on a game-to-game basis, you're going to have DeRozan games, you're going to have Vooch games, you're going to have LaVine games, but the potential upside to your lineup, if you happen to get the 5% owned Zach LaVine small forward game, is really nice potentially.
Now we go to Dallas. The highest owned guy for the Dallas Mavericks should be pretty obvious to everybody. It's Josh Green, $4,300, small forward, power forward, 20% owned. He's 15 on FanDuel. I got 15. He's just stepping into more minutes. Is it exciting, Chalk? No. Do I hope a little bit of it goes away because we create more value? Yes. However, I do have 11% of Luka at 4% ownership. I hope that holds or goes up. I just want to play somebody that's good.
I have 44% Luka right now.
Okay. You put the socks on?
Oh yeah, good call. I think they're actually clean. I did a bunch of laundry recently.
I don't even want to know what you mean by dirty.
Not where I was going.
Dropping treats on Luka's face.
But yeah, so this is one where, like, I don't know. I'm curious to see like where I end up, because we had him projected for 4% ownership. So I just kind of was jamming him in, and that's why I was getting so much Okongwu and Royce O'Neal and Burks and like these other, you know, kind of questionable value pieces. Now it's going to be easier to build lineups that look good with Luka, but it's also going to drive that ownership up, I think. So curious to see how that works out, but he looks really good. 1.7 DraftKings points per minute in games without Kyrie, 1.78 going back to last year in games without Kyrie or Dinwiddie. He has about a 55% assist percentage, 38% usage rate in those games. everything about him looks good. It's just a matter of, can you get to that 12.6 price tag, or on FanDuel, I think 12.9.
I want to. It's the most fun thing that I could do tonight is cheer for Luka Doncic, but don't think it's going to happen with volume unless we start running it again. I wouldn't mind getting into the 15s or 20s. Anything else for Dallas? How do you feel about Josh Green?
I'm getting around like 18% right now. I don't love it. Maybe lose a little bit of that once I rerun stuff for the Pistons and everything. But played 34 minutes last game. He's cheap enough. He's small forward eligible, which is huge at 4,300. So projected for 20% ownership. I got 18%. No real stand either way there.
All righty. One final thing to talk about for you guys: schedule for the rest of the day. I don't have too much to add here. I just realized I haven't asked for likes in ages. 2,100 people here, 248 likes. Please make up for the fact that I have not asked for the past hour, basically. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done it already. I see no reason we can't run that number immediately to 400. There are too many people here for it. Schedule, NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. They'll take you from 6 p.m. all the way to lock. We don't have anything else. No football or anything today, guys. Sorry. We do, however, want you to use our avatar on DraftKings and FanDuel, or wherever you're playing, honestly. Stokastic.com/avatar. Download it. Load it up on the sites. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest of 5,000 or more, you are going to get 1 month of the Stokastic package of your choice. That's going to be a $200 value. This cost you $0. Zilch, nada, nothing. All you're doing is giving yourself the opportunity to basically win a raffle again. You're going to get finished top 3 in the contest. You're going to feel really good about that. And then you're going to be like, whoa, I also get a month of tools at Stokastic, projections, ownership, boom, bust, sims, lineup generator, Discord, all of that stuff included. No reason to skip out on this one. It doesn't get any easier. If you do all of this stuff and you finish in the top 3, tweet that win to @StokasticHOF. I got to sneeze. That was a big one. That was a real big one.
I couldn't even help because I had no idea where you were at in whatever read you were doing.
We were good. I knew it was going to be quick. It made the noise cancellation turn on in my left earbud. Oh man. Stokastic.com/avatar, guys. We might actually have a little bit of time to take some questions when this is all said and done. Or maybe we just spend some time on other teams. Memphis Grizzlies, 2-point dogs. In Utah, 225 total. No Adams, Aldama, Clark, Gigi Jackson is with the G League team, Ja Morant, and then Derrick Rose is actually out today. That is the one new piece of information. 13% ownership to Desmond Bane at 8,500, 15 to Marcus Smart at 6,500. We're seeing Bane, Jackson, Smart, and Tillman all north of 10% on FanDuel. What are you getting to Memphis? I'm surprised I'm not getting to more Bane, and I'm not surprised that I'm not getting to more Smart.
I'm getting to a good amount of Bane now, which I'm a little surprised by just because of the $8,500 price tag and how much I've been prioritizing these cheaper guards. I was a little bit surprised to see Bane really showing up, but basically 2x the field on him. I don't have a problem with that. He's really good. Yeah. You obviously don't have Ja Morant. I was getting to Smart a good amount this morning. Now I'm not. So that kind of just completely flipped. I think those are, to me, clearly the 2 guys that I would get to first. Whether it's Bane or Smart, kind of depends on how your roster construction is going and, what guys you're getting to. Like, the more you're getting to other 8K guys, obviously, the less you're going to be getting to Bane and vice versa.
Yeah, I only got to 6% of Bane, 4% of Smart. You surprised? Like, I went through everything, re-projected everything for everybody. 15% ownership for Smart today still seems a little weird. It just feels like it's because of Derrick Rose.
Yeah, I don't know what I think it's more just the price being really useful. But again, that's the kind of thing that even though they're different prices and positions, just getting like that Bagley piece could really just pull Smart down at least a little bit because it just makes it easier to not need another $6,500 guy.
Yeah.
So far this year for Bane, 28% usage rate. Just seeing more of what you typically get from him. 1.19 DraftKings points per minute.
He is in a salary range that's like a lot more bigs than guards, so maybe that's driving that a little bit. Yeah, I don't have much. Smart.
Kind of. I feel like there's a lot of guards in that range, but I guess some of them are like MPE also.
or they're like bad. It's like Buddy Hield is also 6,500. So like that's not
But I'll
as
think
super
like
relevant.
Ben Simmons is similarly priced, but you're probably playing him at Ford a lot. Shadon
Yeah.
Sharp's similarly priced, but you're playing him at Ford a good amount.
Cam Thomas, same ownership.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean like Giddey is similarly priced, Holiday similarly priced, but like those guys aren't getting a lot of ownership.
Yeah. So I guess I get it. Opposite side, Utah Jazz. 20% ownership coming into Jordan Clarkson, who has been straight duty so far this year. So I definitely have 33%. 23% ownership coming into Talen Horton-Tucker. I'm doing that experience. 5% coming into Lauri Markkanen. I have 13, and I'm actually kind of happy about that. I also have 11% of John Collins. I don't know where this came from, but I'm getting to the Utah Jazz today.
Yeah, I'm getting to him a lot. Curious to see if that holds. But Jordan Clarkson, as of the start of the show, would have been my highest owned guy. He's another one I wasn't getting much this morning, but he is cheap. The playing time is there. He's averaging about 0.8 DraftKings points per minute so far this season, but just not shooting well. Still has a 24% usage rate, 43% true shooting. Like that's just going to come up, even though he's not the most efficient guy. Horton Tucker, I'm getting around 18%. He's at a fantasy point per minute on 46% true shooting. The playing time's there. The prices are reasonable. John Collins is really cheap and Ford eligible, so he looks really good. 17% usage rate so far this season. Not exactly what you would like to see, but still, even on 17% usage, averaging about a fantasy point per minute and playing plenty of minutes. So you just have cheap guys here that do have upside, even though they're flawed NBA players, particularly in Clarkson, Collins, and Horton Tucker.
Yeah, I did not expect this. I'm very happy to get to take us. I wish there was a little bit less ownership coming in on Clarkson. I would have loved that kind of stand and just hope you're around for the day that he starts cooking, because that's the kind of guy I'm looking for.
Right. Yeah, I said this morning that I really like guys like Clarkson if he's like 5 to 10% owned, where he's going to get the minutes, he's going to look for his shot. It's just a matter of does it fall. Playing those guys at 20% owned kind of sucks, but he's still 5,600. Like, I think if you were like 6,600, you'd be getting like the 3% owned Jordan Clarkson, where you're saying, look, he's still going to go out there and put up 40 plus fantasy points a reasonable amount of the time. I'd like him at that ownership. Here, it's like, yeah, the ownership isn't ideal, but he is priced to basically his floor.
Yep. Going to be fun. Going to be fun. I don't like the THT experience, but look, he's getting the minutes and it's a fantasy point per minute. So I understand it. I hate his lack of eligibility. He should not just be a point guard.
Right.
If he had point guard small forward, he might be 35% owned.
Right. I'll say last year, I think he had like point guard small forward for a while.
He had it at the beginning of this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got rid of it. I don't know why. I don't have anything else here. Utah looks way better than they did this morning. I don't know what changed.
Yeah, those three guys in particular, I expect to have a good amount of.
This is going to be a nice talking point because it didn't look good this morning and people thought it would, and it still don't. Sacramento Kings, 7-point dogs in Golden State, 227 total. The news is that there is no De'Aaron Fox tonight. He's going to be out for a bit. The problem is nobody looks good for Sacramento on the DraftKings side. 6% to Keegan Murray is the high mark. I have 5% of Kevin Huerter and nothing else. Barnes and Huerter are both in the teens on FanDuel. Sabonis gets to 9. Monk gets to 8. So there's a little bit more love on the FanDuel side, but these guys look legitimately bad here on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's tough because the prices are just kind of where they should be already. And Fox being out is a tricky thing because, it opens the door in theory for more production for anybody. But normally you would look to Domantas Sabonis and say, he's a quality playmaker. He's a good scorer. He's going to be even better without Fox. But the pick and roll between Fox and Sabonis is such a key part of Sabonis's game that the increased opportunities don't translate into more fantasy production. It kind of just evens out because of a drop in efficiency. And Sabonis is already priced up. Malik Monk's at 5,700. Could he go out there, get hot, and play his way into a bunch more minutes? Sure, but you're paying for that. Davion Mitchell at 4,800 is going to get the increase in playing time with Fox being out, but his salary already jumped. He's not the type of backup point guard that's going to step in there and be looking for his shot and doing a lot offensively. That's just not his game, and there's nothing he can really do about it. So he's going to be a relatively bad point per minute guy no matter what. Kevin Huerter can step into at least a little bit bigger role offensively at 5,100. He's the guy I am getting the most of from the Kings right now at 8% on DraftKings. Keegan Murray, can take on a bigger role offensively, but he's already 6,300. I had a lot of him this morning. I don't have a lot now. I prefer not having a lot at that price.
Yeah, 5% of Hurt or 1% of Murray. How many people you just think are going to blindly click Davion Mitchell's name? 2-3% probably.
Yeah, but yeah, I was gonna say not as many as would have like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's you'd be 30,
right?
Yeah, I'd probably have 60.
Probably get like 8 steals.
I'd probably have 60.
Yeah,
that'd have been shitty too. Yeah, they just don't have the pricing that supports this slate. Oh well.
It's just like compare them to, like, just think about it by comparing them to other guys. Like, do you want to play Malik Monk or do you want to play Jordan Clarkson?
Yeah.
Do you want to play Malik Monk or do you want to play Shaedon Sharpe?
DSJ out.
Who?
Dennis Smith Jr.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, it's better for the dudes that are playing, but I don't think it doesn't create anything new, I don't think.
No, it just, like, it increases the chances that some random dude from that team plays enough minutes to be useful, but it's still not the most likely case.
All right. Golden State, somehow worse than the Kings, except for on FanDuel, where Klay Thompson is 5,800. He's 18% owned there. He's 7,100 on DraftKings, unowned. Everybody's unowned for Golden State. 1% to Draymond, which I don't even think is real. 1% to Steph Curry, if you really need to know. If I got Steph, cool, but I'm not getting Golden State. This whole game is a cross-off.
Yeah, I have no idea how to get to these Golden State guys at their respective salaries on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's just not there. I wish Fox were healthy, just because like a Sacramento Golden State game is pretty fun to watch at 10 o'clock at night. Like the beam and all that good stuff. But no Fox, no good plays means no Sacramento Golden State for me at 10 o'clock.
Oh, somebody mentioned it. We talked about it this morning. Somebody in chat said Chris Duarte. I have a really difficult time wanting to do that on the main slate. I'm really interested in a $3,900 shooting guard small forward Chris Duarte on any turbo/late slate.
Yeah, he's unplayable on the main.
And I mean, it's you and I talked about it a bit this morning, but it's just that kind of for the same things we were just saying negatively about like Davion Mitchell and the Kings in general. They don't have guys to like step into De'Aaron Fox's role. And obviously Chris Duarte is not that guy, but he can be out there in a lot of different lineups. He can facilitate a bit. He can score a bit. So he is that kind of guy where like, he's not going to project very well right now. We have him at like 16 DraftKings points, but there is that path to where you look back after the game and go like, yeah, I should have just figured he was going to one way or another find his way into more playing time. So on those shorter slates where there's less opportunity cost, I do think he's pretty interesting, especially if he's low owned on those slates.
We close this one out with the LA Clippers taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Final chance, guys, to hit that like button. We're at 429, 2,500 people in the door. I think we're going to hit 500 likes. On the Clippers side, DraftKings-wise, not a lot of ownership coming in. 7% to Bones Highland at 5,100 is the high mark. Bones is 4,700 on FanDuel and 25% owned. Very different there. Just to touch on all of the relevant news for the Clippers, because this is very important. I want to pull it up just so I get it. The Clippers injury report looks like this. Brandon Boston out. James Harden out. Terrence Mann out. PJ Tucker is available to play for today. He is not a part of the DraftKings slate. You cannot roster him if you are excited to see him in his new Clippers threads. There's nothing coming in here, and on a big slate like this, I find it very difficult to want to go to like Kawhi or Paul George. Little surprised I don't get to more Bones, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, so I think Bones looks a lot better on FanDuel. He's $400 less on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. But it's just, especially, since we did get Bagley in and we have gotten some value as the day's gone on, it just becomes more difficult to get the Bones. George and Kawhi both being in makes it really tough to get to much from this team at all. Yeah, like it had the potential for Powell and Bones to look really good, but they don't.
Bones does look good for that $4,700 price tag on FanDuel. I don't want to undersell that he's too cheap for what he's going to do today, but yeah. And look, I'm going to say it now. Don't be surprised if there's some weird stuff tonight. I don't expect it at all, but if it's ever going to happen, this is the team to do it because Steve Ballmer doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. And also actually to read touch on bones. Obviously, I'm gonna remake everything, but I was getting to around 15% in the lineups I did before the show, so I was getting more than the field on DraftKings.
Okay.
He's fine at 5,100. Played 32 minutes last night. Assuming he's still in the starting lineup, he's probably playing similar minutes tonight. It's just that he's not going to be allowed to shoot that much when he's playing with George, Kawhi, and Westbrook.
Sure isn't. We close it out with the Los Angeles Lakers. Colin Castleton available. Alex Fudge available. No Rui Hachimura. Demoy Hodge available.
I really could not tell you if you were naming basketball players or people in chat.
Yeah, neither do I. Jalen Hood-Schifino out. Cam Reddish probable. Jared Vanderbilt out. But the real big piece of all of this that we didn't have this morning, Gabe Vincent doubtful. 26% ownership coming into D'Angelo Russell. 9 to Anthony Davis, 12 to LeBron James. I prefer AD. We'll see what that looks like when the value's coming out here. 26% ownership coming into a $4,800 Christian Wood on FanDuel too. I like Russell quite a bit here, but like he was going to be out there one way or the other, whether Gabe Vincent was playing or not.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of him this morning, and I'm not really now. I think that probably bounces back by lock, and I just get around the field on Russell. He looks good. The playing time's there. He's 6,100, very reasonable price tag, useful price tag on this slate. So I do like Russell. We do have him going quite a bit over owned. Maybe that's why I didn't get as much of him. 26% ownership, 15% chance of being optimal in the boom bust tool prior to the Jalen Duren news. So I think Russell's a good play. It depends on your lineups, obviously, because he is projected to go a little bit over owned, but I like the price tag, and Anthony Davis looks pretty good. I am getting to some Christian Wood. I think he's a better play on FanDuel since you can roster him at power forward and he's cheaper than on DraftKings, but he is also more expensive. On DraftKings, 5,200 at center, 6% owned. There is clearly a path to him having a big game. It's not super likely, but he's a very good point per minute guy. He just, needs the minutes.
Yeah, I'm at 11% of Russell. So you basically explained like how I would end up. So I'm well under the field. That's it, man. 13 games up and down. This is a bizarre 13-game slate. There's just giant holes across the entire slate with just like non-owned dudes.
There were so many teams that like you would introduce the game, and in my head I'd be like, oh shit, did I know these guys were playing? And then they would be, oh yeah, no, I did. They just don't matter.
NBA Live Before Lock is coming up next. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. We're over 500. You guys are the absolute best. NBA Treat is the promo code. $4.99 for the NBA lineup generator for the week. If you've never checked it out, you really should. Great on mobile, by the way. I know a lot of people are trying to do this stuff on their phones. NBA lineup generator, perfect for it. That's going to do it. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Stay right on this stream. Those boys will take you all the way up to 7 o'clock. Peace.
Win the pimps in the crib, ma. Drop it like it's hot.
What is happening, everybody? It is Wednesday. We've got a massive 13-game NBA slate. There's a ton of injury news for Eric and I to break down here as well. So we don't have time to dilly-dally around. Just like, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff for us. We've got a million injuries, like I said, to go through. If you guys have questions for us, leave us a super chat. If you're in Discord, one of the perks being a Stochastic member, me in the Discord channel, we will be getting to your questions over the course of the show. Eric, 13 games, and one just like general thing that I wanted to ask you, because we have seen a lot of smaller slates as of late. How much differently do you approach a slate of this size compared to a smaller NBA slate?
You better like your lineups. We talk about all the time, 8th, 9th, 10th guys off the bench. We're talking about 3K lineup differentiators yesterday and trying to, on a 3-game slate, mine out some type of value, which was not on the Cleveland side, except for that 3K dude that I can't even remember his name. But on a 13-gamer, you have so many options. You have so many ways to get different. You have access to so many paths to go and build with the studs at the top and find those points of differentiation and get ceilings with a lot of the core pieces of good chalk. There's going to be a lot of good chalk. There's going to be highly projected lineups. You got to expect you're going to need to score a lot more fantasy points than on a typical slate. So it's just one of those where I better like my lineups. I better enjoy the value. And, you know, we're going to have tons of late news that pops up from time to time, but you just kind of go with the flow of it. It's less like, you know, oh, we're waiting for that one bombshell. There's just things scattered across the board today that I think could break one way or the other. And we're just trying to capitalize it as much as we possibly can as the slate goes on.
And news right off the bat already.
Ingram, my God.
Brandon Ingram has been ruled out. We saw Brandon Ingram sat out the other day when the Pelicans last played, and he was officially listed as questionable. Now we know that he is not going to be playing today. Let's dive into this, Eric. What is going to change about the Pelicans now that Brandon Ingram is out? And also, while you gather your thoughts, I just want to read off to everybody. Jalen Duren's out. We've got Nick Claxton out, Spencer Dinwiddie out, Cam Johnson out. We've got Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin questionable from the Pacers. Brandon Ingram just ruled out. Karis LeVert is questionable again. RJ Barrett is questionable. So those are the key players we're keeping an eye on. But first domino has just fallen. It is Brandon Ingram out today. What do you make of this injury news and who benefits?
Yeah, CJ McCollum is the first guy. You go through any sample size. I mean, he had a 27.8% usage last time out against Golden State and an absolute walloping. Those minutes are going to go up. I mean, he could play 38 minutes here in a competitive game. We saw 37 against Memphis in that competitive win that they had 2 games before that. But the usage goes up, the opportunity goes up, and throughout the years, without Brandon Ingram there, I guess just last year specifically, CJ McCollum just takes on more of a workload there. For some reason, his price went down $100 from last slate. So he's somebody that I project for north of 42 fantasy points right now. And that is going to be a cornerstone of my lineups. Zion Williamson, he goes amongst all of these like luxury items. I wish we could see more minutes out of him. He's been topped out around 32. They're taking it easy on the big man. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. And Jonas Valanciunas, he's the one guy who saw a little bit of a price correction last time out. 23 minutes for him against Golden State. He did put up the double-double. I do think he has did he have it? Yeah, he had no, he did not have the double-double there, but he saw him a little bit more opportunity there, 23 minutes as opposed to 21 he had against the Knicks in a competitive spot. We've seen so many times that they're willing to go small in those kind of spots. And now Jordan Hawkins probably gets inserted into the starting lineup again. He played 35 minutes, but partially because of the blowout against Golden State. He goes in the bucket of all the 4K guys we can consider on today's slate.
So related to the blowout that you just brought up, because I'm not convinced that they're actually actively limiting Zion's minutes. They've not played in competitive games. Last game, like you said, blowout. The game was decided by 28 points. They lost to the Warriors. In addition to that, Zion got himself into foul
trouble. I saw that.
So I do wonder, he still played 30 minutes that game. Like, I don't know his minutes were going to be that capped if the game was competitive and he didn't get into foul trouble. The game before that also played 28 minutes. We saw them win by 9 in that game, the Pelicans, but it was also a game that was fairly lopsided for a lot of it, and the starters didn't finish the game. First game of the season, he played 32 minutes. I do think there's a possibility we get like 35, 36 minutes out of Zion.
Tyrese Halliburton out, Daniel Gafford out. Fun.
And we've got Karis LeVert, a game time decision. So we're just going to have to hit these items one by one And then we will circle back to I have something fun planned that I had for Jordan Klein to do, which you heard me say before the show started, which I thought would be like a good way to approach this, where we could run sims and then we could select our top 150 lineups and look at the exposures we get from some of the value spots. But I didn't realize a new value spot was going to open up every 30 seconds over the course of the show. So we're going to have to take a second here for everything to.
Oh my God. Benedict Mathurin is in. So that's an interesting one. Benedict Mathurin I like now, which just stupid.
Well, one sec. Let's go one by one instead of like being all over. Let's finish the Pelicans and then we could address each of these teams.
I love that. Yeah.
Or else we're not going to be able to get to.
So Zion's 8,800, which is the nice thing. Again, maybe not capped in terms of minutes. I'm still going to put him in at 30. I feel uncomfortable projecting him for like 33, 34 in a because again, 28 minutes. He didn't have a foul against the Knicks. Obviously, the Knicks, that was a really low scoring, weird basketball game here, but I doubt they want him to be playing 35 minutes. And there's so many studs that are right in that range and a little bit more expensive with value on this slate that I think I just like getting to them a little bit more than I like getting to Zion here right now. But CJ McCollum, there is no doubt that he comes into play. And assuming we get Jordan Hawkins starting again, going through some of those rotations right now on Add More Funds, and looks like, he got a little bit of the blowout run, whereas other Pelicans did not. But he's still somebody that if he starts there, he's just going to be on the floor a bunch, 3,800. I'm going to have him right around 30 minutes.
Yeah, he is 3,800, and it's it's more expensive than it was last game. I want to say he was 3,200 on DraftKings, and then the price point on him for FanDuel, don't remember off the top of my head, so I'm going to pull that up right now.
Jordan Hawkins is
4,300 on FanDuel, so up from the $3,600 price point that he was at last game. So at the $3,800 salary on DK. How high of a priority do you think he is as a value play now?
I don't know yet. It's got to be relative. I mean, I have to just run all of this indie stuff. This indie stuff is going to get a little bit wonky because whoever that fifth starter ends up being now, Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, if it's TJ McConnell, we just hook, slam, smash, and do all, what to do with TJ McConnell. I'm assuming it's Andrew Nembhard, and I think he's probably a Hulk smash, but now I have to allocate those minutes to him. There was one game last season against Golden State, for those who play DFS regularly, where Andrew Nembhard set the world on fire, and you basically never got that version of him with Tyrese Halliburton out the rest of the season. It was like Chasey the rest of the way, but Andrew Nembhard, second year out of Florida, I like the talent. I think he's somebody who is very capable of playing a nice backup role for Indy this season. You put him into the starting lineup, I think he's awesome. TJ McConnell is somebody that they have from time to time gone there and made that work. You could play Bruce Brown at the point and choose to go to a completely different lineup configuration. There's a lot of ways that fifth starter is such an important part of this slate for Indy.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Pacers a little bit more in depth now, because we've got Halliburton out, we've got Mathurin in, and Halliburton obviously plays a massive role for this team. And last year, we did see Nembhard draw some starts where he performed really well. So let me go and pull up some of those games that we saw out of Nembhard last year.
Yeah. And TJ McConnell hasn't been in the rotation this season for what it's worth, at all. He played 19 minutes against Cleveland. It was wonky. He played 6 minutes in a blowout against Washington. And then preseason, he played regular whatever. So I don't expect 4K TJ McConnell to start. If he does, we're just going to slam him. So that's cool.
Here's another part of this also. The Pacers are on the road against the Celtics. Yep. The spread is massive. They are by far the biggest underdogs of the slate. How concerned are you with blowout risk in the Pacers game?
Very. I say that very well, knowing that 7.5 rebounds for Miles Turner is a play that I'm in love with today. The over of that for all of you fine folks in any of the betting or pick'em streets. I think that one is pretty good for both of them alike, especially in the aftermath of Halliburton being out. You're going to bring a smaller guard onto the floor in some capacity, one that should be an inferior. Not that Halliburton's a good rebounder by any or the other categorical things that he adds to the fray, but looking at Miles Turner, I think that's fine. For me, it's also they're 5K at least, which is a plus. 5,100 for Nembhard, 5,400 for Nesmith. So we don't have to necessarily go there if we don't want to. It's a 13-game slate, but there's drastically more opportunity throughout. I think Bruce Brown Jr., 5,600 right now as I'm starting to update stuff. I have him for 33 minutes. I think that's going to make him a little bit interesting with point guard, small forward eligibility. That's a little bit wonky. Again, the Nembhard one, 5,100. I'm going to see how popular he gets because that might be a tag that you can get away from at that kind of a number. That doesn't lock for 80 minutes here still, but we'll kind of see what else shows up. Benedict Mathurin, 5,500. His minutes have been really strange to start off this season. He started every game, but 17 minutes against Cleveland, 28 there against Chicago, 26, 23. We've had some weird minutes throughout this beginning of the regular season for him. I got to expect that in this spot, you would ramp him up to around 30, 31, 5,500. We know he's a shoot first guy, but I guess nothing really a priority as I'm updating it on the indie side, just more of like contrarian tournament pieces because of the spread.
Yeah. So a couple things about Mather. One game, he just sucked. The game against Cleveland, he just played really poorly, which I think limited his minutes. Last game against the Bulls, he played 28 minutes, got into foul trouble, had 5 personal fouls. First game of the season, they lost to the Wizards by 23 points. So it's another one of these. And it's also kind of why it's hard to read too much into the minutes 2 or 3 games into the season for some of these guys due to sample size stuff. Like I just brought up with Zion, like, did they really intend to play him 31 minutes or was it because of the blowout? But we don't know for sure, right? The game could have been competitive and he might have played the same amount of minutes or he could have played more. It's kind of the same here with Mather. One game he sucked, he played limited minutes, and then one game was a blowout, one game he got into foul trouble. Like we've gotten a different scenario from each game that's limited his minutes. I do think there's opportunity for him to play 36 this game, or they're going to be, 14-point underdogs to the Celtics. They could just get their asses handed to him and his minutes get limited again. And then we're having the same conversation with Haliburton being out on Friday. We're like, how many minutes does Mathurin play? We still have no clue. I do think there's upside in Mathurin as a tournament play, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of him and Bruce Brown a little bit. I mean, Bruce Brown, it's a weird spot. Again, all of these tags do make it a little bit more difficult. I do want to repeat, if somehow, some way we get the random TJ McConnell start, I will have infinite amounts of him at 4K.
Yeah, looking through, like you had mentioned, some of the pricing on these Pacers players, at least on DraftKings, nothing really stands out. It looks like they did a really good job of anticipating that we might have none of Haliburton in today and also potentially none of Mathurin. So they kind of went ahead and priced these players as if they could be out. And then even over on FanDuel too, you're not seeing guys like crazy, crazy cheap. Way better job at pricing this slate than we've seen in some previous slates this year. Because same, over on FanDuel, Nembhard, 5,200, Nesmith, 4,800, Mathurin, 5,600. In previous years, or I should say last year, when Haliburton was out and we saw Nembhard starting, like he was 3K. And was a can't miss in some of those spots. It's totally different when he's priced in the mid 5K range. It really doesn't make him any kind of real priority. Is there anything else that you are liking or want to talk about from the Pacers?
Miles Turner, 6,700. We'll see the usage at least take a spike up. His points prop was sitting around 14.5, 15.5 today. That was in my sheet. And I'm not necessarily going nuts with him. There are so many center plays. And do you really want to invest in 6,700 Miles Turner with a lot of blowout risk? But I guess that's kind of the reason to possibly do it. The usage is going to take a kick up. Again, I love the rebounds prop. Love over 7.5 that was sitting there all day long. I'm not sure if it's gotten bumped here yet, but he's averaging north of 10. And this is a Boston spot where Kristaps Porzingis is really, really good, but not a great offensive rebounder. He should be able to just wipe the glass there on defense. Nobody else on Indy has really any size whatsoever. Obi Toppin, another guy who can come in and at least get a couple of boards there for him. But Miles Turner, I think there's like a 20 and 15 type game in store for him here, but I'm not going to be going nuts with him.
Yeah, and let's see. The other injury piece, and then we will be caught up on the injury news. And then, at least the players that were just ruled out. Then we could circle back on the Pistons and talk about Duren and the Bagley situation.
Yeah.
And first, though, we've got Gafford out, and there was a point the other day when Gafford was ruled out where Mike Muscala is projected to be a chalky player. And what ends up happening, Eric? He's not starting. Then we say, all right, no interest in Mike Muscala anymore. Not only did he not end up starting that game, he didn't play. So now we're in a situation where, all right, we're not expecting him to be part of the rotation or at least not play significant minutes. Is there anything that really stands out from Washington with Gafford out? He's a big piece of the rotation, but it didn't really open up a ton for us last time.
Yeah, I was pretty okay with the amount of Kuzma that I got to. I got to well over the field. And I think that that's probably going to be what ends up happening today. It ended up being wonky. Boston's going to run a lot of teams off the floor. They're going to be double-digit spreads a lot. It's like Golden State in the mid-2000s. You just know what you're going to run into, and you have to deal with that. Just you're okay getting burned by it. But Kyle Kuzma is a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy so far this season, 1.31 to be exact. He is going to go get all the rebounds in all of the land there. They went to Koulibaly as the guy who ended up getting the spot start. He played 28 minutes, and I don't know what to really think of him at 4K, but we just got to double check that starting rotation here. I think Kyle Kuzma is the guy that I end up playing quite a bit of. Denny Avdia, somebody that early on when he ended up getting the surprise start in that first game of the season, I was very interested to see what those rotation minutes were for him. They've capped him around 27, 28. Now there have been blowouts. There's going to be lots of blowouts for Washington. Atlanta, they're 9-point favorites here, probably extends to maybe 9.5 before tip. But like, I think Kyle Kuzma is a strong priority for me on this slate. 7,500 at a power forward position that has a lot of options, but every position has a lot of options. He's a mid-range guy who I think we probably walk into 34 minutes in a competitive spot, 35. And I don't really see anybody else getting any boards here on this team. There is no size. They're undersized as can be. They really have no interest in going to Patrick Baldwin or trying to play somebody really in the deep rotation there that might have some size. So yeah, with no Mike Muscala out there, Kyle Kuzma, one of the better plays on the slate now.
All right. So we got some super chats. So I want to make sure we answer these questions, and then we'll talk about the Dern situation and Marvin Bagley, who I just find to be impossible to get away from on this slate with Dern being out today. But first, Hannah Banana. Hannah wants to know our favorite options for DK tiers. So I'm going to pull up tiers right now. Are you prepared for some tiers conversations here, Eric? All right. So
I'm playing both sites today because I think FanDuel might overlay, by the way. I'm looking at the $5. It has like 61,000 out of 95,000. That's a lot for them to pick up in 43 minutes. So if you're looking for a good spot to go get your money in, I just fired the $5. I think that's going to actually overlay today.
That is a pretty good call. Boy, I hate playing two sites on a
I know. I wasn't going to do it, but then I noticed it right before we came on this show. And I was like, fuck, I'm screwed.
So we'll I might go fire some lineups into that too. If it's still like 20 minutes from now looks like it's going to overlay, then I'll just run lineups with all of our data through the Sims tool, and I'll just
it's positive EV to just use our data and go that way. And that's kind of the way that I'm doing. I'm playing 100 lineups, and then I just decided, all right, I'll play both sides today. Screw it.
Let's talk about tiers now for Hannah. So Hannah wants to know our favorite options in DK tiers. And for me, I have in tier 1, Luka. So we talked about this very similar situation the other day. Luka and Jokic, both available options here, but no Kyrie Irving in tier 1. No Kyrie Irving makes Luka the guy for me to go to in tier 1. So Luka over Jokic. Tier 2, this is a close one. We've got Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, Steph Curry. I think you can make a case for all 4 of these guys, but of them, I do like Jason Tatum the most. Tier 3. So it's funny. Tier 3 actually has Halliburton and Kyrie Irving in it. Both of them are out, which limits our options here. Don Mitchell, pretty clear option as is. And then if you also get Karis LeVert ruled out, Mitchell would look even stronger in tier 3. Tier 4, we've got Trae Young, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam. I like Trae Young the most of all those options, but LeBron is not far behind. Tier 5, Desmond Bane, Zion Williamson, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jimmy Butler. I like Zion the most of this group with Brandon Ingram out. And now tier 6. Tier 6 is very difficult. We've got Jordan Poole, Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, who are all projecting nearly identically. I'll go with Cat amongst those 3, but once again, I think Poole, Randle, Towns, you go to any of them in that tier and feel pretty good about it. The next super chat is from Ryan Langley, who said, thanks for the great info, guys. Who are your top 3 GPP picks on DK? Let me rerun my lineups here.
Yeah, I have to finish up this this Indy stuff. Jalen Smith officially got ruled out, by the way. So Miles Turner, I'm going to add another 2 minutes to him. I'm probably going to get to a decent quantity. Again, nothing crazy. They're going to be 12.5, 13-point dogs when this line closes.
Top GPP plays. Like, are we going to consider Marvin Bagley a top GPP play? And
no, we're not. You're just playing Marvin Bagley.
Right? Like, I'm going to have Marvin Bagley in pretty much
95, 100% of lineups, probably. Yeah.
just play Marvin Bagley. So I don't really have like he's the guy I'm gonna have the most exposure to. Whether I'm gonna call him a top GPP play here, I'll say probably not. But he's still somebody you absolutely want to be playing. I'm interested to see do we have updated ownership? What did Jordan Hawkins end up being updated to? Because he's somebody I like quite a bit for tournaments.
I do too. Yep. Him. And then, I mean, there are other Pistons that I think are very, very interesting. Again, they're 3-point favorites in this spot, and you're taking Jalen Duren, who, thank God, I mean, shout out to OddsShopper, plus 250 opening day double-double. It was minus 280 2 games ago when he sprained his ankles. So I am feeling pretty great about the OddsShopper tools here at identifying stuff, and was pretty heavily invested in his rebounding props the first couple of slates, and that worked out nicely. Obviously, injuries suck, but Oscar Thompson, 5,800, Isaiah Stewart, 5,400, coming off of burning the absolute universe. I think that they're at least interesting for tournaments.
So one thing also with the size of the slate, so Marvin Bagley is projected for 70% ownership, and then there's not another player projected for north of 30%. So pretty big drop off after you get past Bagley. I'm going to go with Hawkins as one of my GPP plays. I'm going to go with Trae Young as another one. I think Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are both really strong plays on DK for this slate, but Murray projected for double the ownership of Trae Young. So I like going to Trae Young in some spots instead of DeJounte Murray. Both of them look good, but I'm going to have Trae Young as one of my top GPP plays. And then let's see. What do I want to do for my other one? I'm inclined to say McCollum as well. I just reran lineups, got to him.
Obsessed with McCollum. Obsessed. I knew I was pretty obsessed with him before we got that news. I thought he was still in play at 7,200 with Ingram back in the event that Ingram was some way limited. And I mean, he looked really, really nice. CJ McCollum, there are times without Damian Lillard on the floor, he just goes nuts. And part of this too is like, if they're going to keep Zion limited to 32, 34 minutes, that's CJ McCollum time. They can stagger into a little bit there to make sure one of them's on the floor. CJ McCollum just getting it done in a lot of ways. He is a phenomenal play today.
All right, let's go ahead then and talk about the Detroit Pistons. No, we got one more super chat here that just came in from William Wallen. He says he needs a $4,700 forward. Who is your best pick? William, is this a FanDuel or DraftKings question? I assume
very important.
DraftKings because he said forward. So we'll just answer this as DraftKings. If he clarifies that he needs something else, we could circle back on it. But $4,700 at forward. Let's see. $4,700. Who's at that price point? Beyond Bagley. The answer is Bagley, but I'm going to assume you already have Bagley in your lineup.
Yeah, and he's at 4,700 on the dot for FanDuel, so he'd be the answer over there as well.
If not, then it's actually the options get really shitty after that.
Just get ready if it's TJ McConnell. I just want to throw it out there. If it's TJ McConnell 4K, we are Hulk slam smashing TJ McConnell in every lineup you humanly possibly can. Oh, from forward. Sorry. I thought you said just anybody 4,700 and under. Forward. I'm a dunce cap. Don't listen to me. Let me see.
I mean, the answer for me is Royce O'Neal, but I'm not dying to play Royce O'Neal on this slate either.
I'd go Bogdanovich. Small forward.
Yeah. I'm not dying to play him today either, though.
No, but it's Washington. If it gets blowouty, there's massive upside for him to just get 28 minutes in blowout run. And let me just tell you, Bogdanovich confirms loves to shoot. So that's useful.
All right, let's go ahead now and check Discord, and then we will figure out if there's anybody else from the Pistons in the front court that we want to play instead of Marvin Bagley, or maybe with Marvin Bagley. But first, we've got Ryan Schindler wants to know, is it dumb to play 100% Luka in DK 20 max? I wouldn't say it's dumb. It's not what I'm doing, but I don't have like a massive issue with it.
I would not do it today. I'm like the ultimate, if there's value, jam Luka, jam Jokic kind of guy. That has always been the MO. Jokic is at 12K against a Minnesota front court that he has just murdered. Domantas Sabonis is 10-5 without De'Aaron Fox. Jason Tatum's 10-3 against Indy and has an unlimited ceiling in every matchup. Donovan Mitchell still without everybody. Anthony Davis against Vika Zubats, and has 14 rebound prop. Dame Lillard in a torch spot. LaMelo Ball, no, probably not for me. I mean, there's so many guys sitting at 9,500 and up though that have unlimited ceiling and range, and I would find ways there. And then the mid range is eternally equipped. Like everybody 8K and down. It seems like there are so many guys that you can roster there that have 50-55 upside.
Yeah, I'm just not going to go dumb to play Luka in 20 out of 20. I'm not doing it. But if that's a stand you want to take today, there are worse stands you could take.
He's been a 1.91 fantasy point per minute player this season. So yeah, that's fun.
Next question is from Einstein. He asks, is 15% of Jokic too much? No, not at all.
No.
Sniffs says, what do I think of DeJounte Murray? He's projected really well and is all over the Sims. Yeah, I think DeJounte Murray is a very, very strong option today, as is Trae Young in the Hawks backcourt. I think you go to both of them. And we're going to be doing our nuke of the night very shortly as well, because that is a question we have from Cap and Akella. But yeah, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, I like both of them. I think DeJounte Murray is somebody who in cash games, if you're only playing one, I'd lean towards DeJounte Murray. I mentioned before, I really like Trae Young as a tournament play because, at least in part of all the ownership going to DeJounte Murray, makes for a good little pivot there with some leverage. How about you? Do you have any DeJounte Murray takes?
Yeah, love 8,300 over on FanDuel, pulling 14.7% ownership. I am almost double that, 26%.
Next question here is from Mr. Cool Cam, wants to know top 3 favorite plays for a FanDuel single entry. Well, one of them certainly Marvin Bagley. If we're going to go on the less popular end, though, it's funny on FanDuel, DeJounte Murray is not nearly as popular as he is on DK. So DeJounte Murray is 15% owned on FanDuel. I think he's a great tournament option. Like getting to DeJounte Murray.
Kyle Kuzma, 7,400. I would just play a ton. I'm going to have a ton of him.
And then one more for me on FanDuel to round out the 3.
Kevin Love out.
Kevin Love is out?
Yep.
Boy, so there's so many good options to go to today. I'm going to say Jordan Poole is the other one. Jordan Poole is only projected for 14% ownership on FanDuel tonight. And there are really big games in Jordan Poole this year because he's going to have some spots where he hits his first 2 or 3 shots of the game. And that will only encourage him to shoot even more. There are going to be like 40 to 50% Jordan Poole usage games. We haven't seen them quite yet this year, but I know that they're coming. Did you see that ridiculous play he had in transition against the Celtics last game?
Yeah, he's an insane person.
Where he just decides, you know what I'm doing? I'm dribbling backwards. I'm walking to the 3-point line and I'm just chucking the shot. And Kristaps Porzingis blocked the shot like he was swatting a toddler shot on a Nerf on a Nerf net and just slapped it away. And it was like, all right, fun. That's what Jordan Poole is doing right now.
I'm going to throw this out there too. Bones Highland for FanDuel, 4,700 at the point guard position, also allows you to have some swappability. The kid played 32 minutes yesterday. Now, PJ Tucker is in this rotation, so that's a difference piece from yesterday. And I don't know if he starts or not. I got to think that that's probably going to take away minutes from Amir Coffey more than it is Bones, but Bones looked all right in the start. I'm going to throw him in for FanDuel purposes too, if you're looking for savings.
All right. 2 minutes and we're halfway through the show, which means nuke of the night coming in 2 minutes. 2 minutes until the nuke of the night, guys. Then we've got a question here from, let's see, a lot of questions coming in. We answered the Mr. Cool Cam question. Then here from Warren. Boss Monkey 26 says, what do we think about Şengün tonight? He traditionally owns the Hornets. So I don't care what individual players do against individual teams. But all that aside, I think that Şengün looks really good on both DraftKings and FanDuel.
Yeah, I kind of said it facetiously, with the Jokic against Minnesota. It's more of like Jokic is good against everybody. So what was that?
I said he's good against everybody.
That's exactly it. So whenever my father-in-law, like we've been able to get tickets to Clippers games and whatever else, the games that I don't miss are Jokic games. It's so special to watch him in person. I flew back to Minnesota 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago or something. And it was just to go watch Jokic. I think I've watched Jokic play more than any other individual player in the last 2 years because he's just can't miss appointment viewing every single time. He just plays basketball #different.
All right. Are you okay there, Jordan? You've gotten up from your seat many times today. Just making sure you're okay.
Coffee.
Okay. All right. My guess was going to be diarrhea. So I'm happy to hear you're doing okay, Jordan. Just making sure.
Water is good for that anyway. So
yeah,
keep drinking.
That is true. Next question here is from, so we'll do one more question, then it is the nuke of the night time. Next question is from Cleveland 27. He wants to know, is it okay to play Young and Murray in the same lineup? Considering their price point, I'm going to have lineups that have both of them in some of them.
Considering the matchup and the price, yes, I'm going to have both of them in lineups.
All right. Now it is time, Eric. Nuke of the night. Jordan, hit the animation. Nuke of the night. There we go. We really, really nailed it that time. Round 2 was better than round 1 in terms of the timing of all of it. So, Eric, Nuke of the night. Who is your favorite tournament play on the entire slate?
It depends on what time this news comes out.
Okay.
But I'm going to throw out TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is 4K on DraftKings.com. Right now, pulling no ownership because people, I think, are uncertain with what's happening in that situation. I think it ends up being Andrew Nembhard, but if it is TJ McConnell, I want everything that has to do with him. 5,300 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. I would have him absolutely everywhere.
Trae Young for me. We're getting a lot of questions about the Hawks backcourt and DeJounte Murray. I know I brought this up earlier in the show as well, but DeJounte Murray's projected for twice as much ownership as Trae Young. He's cheaper. He's a slightly better points per dollar play, but both of them are still very, very good options. If you have a lineup that is Trae Young that doesn't have DeJounte Murray, there's still a lot of upside there and getting a little bit of leverage over the field if Trae Young ends up being the guy for the Hawks stay over Murray. You could certainly have some lineups that have both of them, but I really, really do think that making sure that you have some lineups here and there that have Trae Young and no DeJounte Murray, good way to build some GPP lineups for today. Lots of leverage to be had in that kind of situation. Anything that's going to change massively for you with, and by the way, we just got the starting lineup for the Pistons. It is official. Cade Cunningham, Hayes, Thompson, Stewart, Bagley starting at center. So we are going to have Marvin Bagley starting. And hey, playing a bunch of them today, I think he's the best points per dollar play on the slate. He's going to be really chalky. I think it's warranted. Any difference of opinion on you with Marvin Bagley now confirmed in the starting lineup?
Not in the slightest. He is an undeniably good chalk play.
All right, some super chats.
Do you even think that they end up going to James Wiseman?
Going to him at all, or
at all? Because I mean, I have him for 15 minutes right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if we just saw 0, and that could. I mean, it's new coaching regime. You got Williams there now. It's like I could see very much them just bypassing James Wiseman because they hate him, and they should hate him. He's terrible.
I would be pretty surprised. I think he's going to play the backup center minutes today.
He didn't play, though, last time after the Duren injury.
But there was also only part of the game that he missed.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
I think Wiseman's going to be in the rotation and get on the court at some point today.
Yeah, but I have Bagley for 32 minutes at 4,700 on FanDuel, 4K on DK. He's the best value piece on the slate as of right now.
All right, we've got some more super chats coming in. This one is from Olrat14. Olrat wants to know, how many Charlotte guys do we like today? Do we like Miller? Do we like Williams?
I like PJ Washington on DK, 5,800. That's the only one I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm pulling up my Washington players. Right? Or sorry, not Washington.
FanDuel. I was looking at FanDuel. On DK, PJ Washington is 5,800. Wow, I don't know how I remember that. Terry Rozier is 7K. Gordon Hayward is 62. I'm going to finish running my FanDuel stuff, and then I'm going to jump back over to DK. Again, I think that's going to overlay.
Miller's 5,400 on DK. PJ Washington's 5,800. If you had a lineup or two with PJ Washington, it's not the end of the world, but I don't like any of these guys really. None of them are priorities. They're about fairly priced. Brandon Miller, probably a little bit too expensive coming off his big game that he had last time out where he just made a bunch of shots, knocked down a bunch of threes. Or if you're just playing a lineup or two, don't have Miller or Washington or Williams in it for that matter. Are you playing Williams at all?
Mark Williams, FanDuel, no, 0.
And
I have one share of Brandon Miller out of 100 lineups.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next question, which is from Braden Baum. Braden says, what do we think CJ McCollum's ceiling is? Very, very high.
He's I mean, you could 60 sounds dumb, but like legitimately, I'll go like 55. There you go. Enjoy.
I mean, like, what are we talking about in terms of ceiling? Like, what do we think a normal good game looks like from him? Or are you asking us, like, what is the most possible fantasy points he could score today? Like, that's probably like 60.
Yeah, 68, 95, 99.7. If we're talking like 3 standard deviations to the right, it'd be like 60, 65. I'd say a really good game for him here, like his true ceiling being like 2 standard deviations, being like 52.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the next question, which is coming to us from Tyler Gable. Tyler says, DK best 5,500 and below forward to play, but it can't be Marvin Bagley. So 5,500 and below, not Marvin Bagley.
It's an important stipulation, yeah.
No Bagley. All right, 5,500 and below at forward.
Jabari Smith.
Let's see, what is it for myself? 5,500. It is Jalen Johnson for me. Jabari Smith would be second.
That's fair. I love Jalen Johnson for tournaments today, for what it's worth.
Yeah, both very, very close there. And then another question here from Robert Cremaccio. Robert wants to know 5 favorites for FanDuel cash. Although he says other than Bagley, now everybody's just like, hey, I'm playing Marvin Bagley. I want to know who the other pieces are. So Robert is asking us, who for FanDuel cash should he be playing outside of Bagley? So let's see what we have here. And also, Jordan, we just had an ownership update from a minute ago. Can you run the Sims for DraftKings? And then we'll just look at some of the players that it gets the most exposure to from each position. So we could do that as we answer some of these questions as well. So on FanDuel, I think you want to be playing Zion in cash. He's projected for nearly 50% ownership. If you're going to have Zion 50% owned in the absence of Brandon Ingram at a sub 8K price point, I think you want exposure to Zion in that kind of situation. Lonnie Walker, he's likely going to be playing big minutes today with the Nets being shorthanded. So Zion, Walker, Ben Simmons, CJ McCollum, and then I'll say Kuzma as well. Anybody else you would add as like a must play in cash?
Nope. You sounded perfect with those. Where do I get the standard deviation? I build it out because it's fun to do. And then you can do average standard deviation of fantasy points per game. That's data that's just readily available directly on like Cruncher when you're looking at the graphs. So you can just export that and have fun with it. But there's also a bunch of sites that have modeling. You can go to StatHead and go get data. You can go get data from a lot of places. But the best spot where all of that gets encapsulated, where you don't have to worry about it, is at Stochastic. So don't worry about it.
Now let's see what else that we have in the Discord channel. And by the way, guys, thank you for all of the questions we're getting today. Really do appreciate it. And anybody else, it's the easiest way to support the channel. Also, just liking the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel helps keep all of our content free. Getting lots of engagements today on a 13-game slate, a lot of injury news, and do love to see it. Next question that we have in here is from IC50. Said is playing Watford today too thin. Yeah, I don't think you need to go to Watford.
No.
Next question from Fantastico. If you're not playing Murray, who are some good pivots? I think Trae Young is the best DeJounte Murray pivot.
I very much agree with that. I think you could just flip-flop their ownership and you're probably in a pretty good spot for GPPs.
JEW wants to know thoughts on Isaiah Jackson. Jalen Smith is out and the game is potentially going to be a blowout. Here's the issue I have with that is if this was a 3-4 game slate, I could get behind that kind of logic. And he might go out and have a very good game. He might end up playing garbage time and just crushing garbage time. I don't want to build my lineups around a possibility of a blowout on a 13-game slate.
The very good point.
It's too clever. You're thinking a little bit too hard for a 13-game slate. There's a lot of more obvious spots to get to. Doesn't mean he can't have a good game, but it just wouldn't really be the spot that I'm looking to play him. The next question here is from Cubby Bear. Cubby Bear Q3 says thoughts on Jovic and Kispert. Kind of similar to what I was saying before when it comes to Isaiah Jackson. It's just not necessary on a 13-game slate.
I would rather play Isaiah Jackson because if it does break that direction, he has the fantasy point per minute rate to go with it. 1.32 over the course of this season. We've seen something historically north of 1.2 over the last couple of years for him. I don't want to play the other guys because there's just no upside to them running into the minutes, whereas Jackson, it's actually there.
And by the way, we now have Jordan Klein has got the Sims up on screen. And one thing you'll see here as we're getting closer to lock of our top 150 lineups here, and Jordan just ran the projections as is, favored the top 150 here. Marvin Bagley showing up in 87% of lineups seems pretty reasonable to me. I know he's going to be really popular, but if you're playing 150 and you land on nearly universal exposure to Bagley, I don't have an issue with that. In fact, actually, if I was running DraftKings lineups 150 at this moment, and you said to me, would I prefer to have more or less of 87% of Bagley? The number feels good, but I'd probably be more likely to be over it than under, to be honest.
Yeah, it's dumb to say out loud, but it's true. I'm with you.
Other players that we're getting to from the Pistons, we did get to 11% of Ausar Thompson here, 6% of Isaiah Stewart, 2% of James Wiseman. If you're building out a bunch of lineups, I don't have an issue with 2% of James Wiseman.
This is an interesting one. I think this is one that I've been kind of like ruminating over for a while here. We just got officially Gabe Vincent ruled out. I think there is, I mean, he was doubtful beforehand, but like, I think there's a ton of upside with Christian Wood, specifically looking at FanDuel today. On DK, he's center only. That makes it a little bit more difficult for me. But for the FanDuel folks, especially if you're going to go chase some of this overlay that exists, Christian Wood is 4,800 there. There aren't a lot of bench minutes. Max Christie, not somebody that they want to give minutes to. Jackson Hayes, not somebody they want to give minutes to. Christian Wood played pretty decently on the defensive end. And if you get decent defense from Christian Wood, he's going to stay out on the floor because he's a good shot blocker. He's somebody who can put up a ton of counting stats, came one away from a double-double on both sides of it, even for DK purposes. 4,800 for FanDuel. I could see those minutes going up even a little bit further. And it might be, hey, they play different positions, Eric. No, they can move LeBron and play point. They can do a lot of things where they just, D'Angelo Russell played really well at the point there, and they just need another big body out there, and they can limit LeBron James minutes. They've said they were going to do that, even though it hasn't come to fruition all the time because coaches are damn dirty liars. So if I have LeBron for 33, 34 minutes, like I'm going to probably have him for most of these games, I think Christian Wood's a really good tournament play.
Yeah, I felt really good about my prediction. When we were doing the first show of the year, I said, I think they're going to limit LeBron's minutes this season. And what happened? First game of the year, they did. He played sub 30 minutes. And then they confirmed after the game, like, yeah, that's the plan. We're going to limit LeBron's minutes. And then it just didn't happen.
Lies. All lies.
Why do you think it is that they lie?
I don't know, because it's not like they're getting any competitive advantage. You can play anybody you want for any amount of time that you want. It's just like there's a 48-minute cap because that's how long a game is. And teams have to adjust to what's ever in front of them. But like, for whatever reason, they think it might be a competitive advantage to say, oh, LeBron, oh, we're going to put our rotations this way. No, you always react to what's happening during the course of a game. You're a coach. You should be coaching. Why are you lying about stupid shit? I don't get it.
And also, does it materially change? Like, what is the team going to do? If you thought it gained some sort of competitive advantage, what difference is a team going to do if they think LeBron is playing 32 minutes instead of 28?
For whatever reason, they think it's a competitive advantage, which I guess is what matters. Like, we don't, they do. It's silly.
I'd want to ask a coach once. If I was a reporter, which I don't ever want to do that job.
No.
That's the first question I would ask is why are you lying to us all the time?
Why do you hate the people who are the most interested in your product? That's always my thing. It's like, we are by far the people who are most attracted and most invested in your product. Don't lie to us. Go ahead and lie to whomever else. I don't care. But like, I mean, we are trying to do the best that we can in terms of like reading the tea leaves. And there are going to be uncertain things that happened at the beginning of the season. But like, this was so bullshit. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I was at that Lakers game and I was like, LeBron's at 34 minutes and he's still on the floor. Guess that just didn't materialize. Darvin. Thanks, buddy.
Anyway, I think LeBron's a fine pay up option on the slate today. Not somebody who like is a crazy high priority, but Jordan, can you pull up really quick if you still have the Sims on your screen? I'm just curious to see which pay up options we got to the most there. Just go to everybody. Yeah, just remove the filter. And yeah, just scroll down a little bit. And I want to see, we do have TJ McConnell projected really well today.
Oh, we do?
Yes. Yeah, we have TJ McConnell project for 26.5 fantasy points.
Oh, well, shit. That's a lot of fantasy points. So I had him for more, but I mean, I'm just putting him as starter because they've done this so many times in the past, and maybe they just want to keep Nemhard's role the same. It's like TJ McConnell, spot start, go have fun.
Yeah, we definitely need to see what that starting lineup looks like.
Oh, it's huge.
If McConnell starts, I mean, you're just swapping to him as much as possible. If he comes off the bench, he's playable, but not really the same priority. So it's one of those things we're going to find out sooner rather than later, because we've got the post-lock show coming up. You guys are going to be here. Stay post-lock. If don't leave at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Eric and I are going to be here for 30 minutes. We'll look at some bets, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news that's breaking, because that's kind of what happens on 13-game NBA slates. And also, we'll look at some bets, and we are sponsored today by Bet365. They've got a great deal. If you got to sign up at Bet365, use the link below. You place a $5 bet, and they're going to give you $150 in bonus bets. That's one of the easiest ways there is to make money in all of sports betting. Obviously, Odd Shopper and finding the best value bets helps a ton too, but nothing helps as much as free money, which is what Bet365 is giving out. Bet $5, get $365 in bonus bets. If you're anybody who has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's hit on some more of these questions, Eric, because we got more of them coming in. This one is from Cheersbro. Cheersbro says, can we see the DK ownership? Yeah, Jordan, just throw this up on screen and scroll down a little bit for our guy Cheersbro here, who wanted to see the DK ownership. And yeah, we've got a lot of ownership going to Marvin Bagley, 67%. We've got CJ McCollum projected for 38% ownership. And then it gets a little bit flatter after that. 27% for Murray, 27% for Şengün, and then only a couple other guys north of 20%. So a little more spread out when we got slates of this size. Anthony Manaki wants to know, is Tyus Jones playable today? Playable, sure, but priority, no. If you're playing one lineup, I wouldn't have Tyus Jones in it.
I'm not playing him.
Next question is from Sunflower. Who is a lower DK floor, Cam Thomas or Ben Simmons? This is actually a very difficult question, because Ben Simmons is going to be the answer I think the public wants to go to. If Cam Thomas has a game where he does not make shots, which is going to happen at some point this season, his floor is incredibly low, because he has no other dimensions to his game other than scoring. And historically, he's been a very inefficient scorer. So there are going to be Cam Thomas games where he shoots like 2 of 12 from the field and is legitimately going to score like 5 fantasy points. Fact. Cam Thomas. Jose Morales, DK tiers, please. Yes, I will go back to the DK tier.
Did you see his 2-point shooting split so far this season? And he has like a 70% true shooting percentage, like Steph Curry-ish. Same thing with Porzingis. They're just shooting unsustainably well.
How good do you think Cam Thomas is? I'm just asking as I pull up the DK tiers.
I don't think he's very good. I think he's a very good. I don't know. He probably attracts the casual basketball fan because he's a bucket and people love those kind of guys. I mean, he could basically be a Lou Williams for the next however long, but he's not as good defensively as Lou Williams was at times. Like he's just a guy to me. And I know that's going to make some people mad because he won me a lot of money one night.
He's also not a playmaker. He appears to have very high ceiling as a scorer. I can't imagine being a good defensive player. I don't think he's going to be a playmaker. I don't think he's going to be like a great rebounder or anything like that. He's a scoring dependent player. And that's also why I think his floor is very low for DFS. If he doesn't make shots, he's not going to.
He has a 69.7% true shooting percentage this season. Last season, 56.9%, which was 45th percentile. He goes from being 45th percentile to 95th percentile. I think not.
He's also not a great shooter. Yeah, I think he's like 31% from three for his career off the top
exactly.
of my head?
Well, yeah, that's not off the top of your head. He's also not very good from three.
It is off the
this
top of my
season, 30.8%. Like he's not shooting well. Everything he's doing is like just getting to the hole. Like he's just, it's really kind of annoying that he's been as good at this as possible because I've just been shorting him. And then, last slate, I got a little bit bailed out because I ended up shorting Dinwiddie instead of him. And I definitely should have flip-flopped the two once we got to the flip. So a little bit of a bailout situation.
Jose Morales wanted to know about DK tier. So I've got that pulled back up here. Tier 1, Luka Doncic. Tier 2, Jason Tatum. Tier 3, Donovan Mitchell. Tier 4, Trae Young. Tier 5, Zion Williamson. Tier 6, it's still so close. It was the same kind of issue I ran into before. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go, but Karl Anthony Towns I'll stick with in tier 6, but very, very close. Cat, Jordan Poole, Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, a lot of guys with comparable ceilings and projections. Teddy Wayman wants to know any Walker Kessler on FanDuel large field tournaments. So I actually just built out lineups just using nothing but our data in the Sims because I want to go play some of the overlay on FanDuel. It looks like the $5 is going to overlay pretty heavily.
You're welcome, or I'm sorry.
I'm going to right away just say thank you because no matter what ends up happening, it's value.
Yeah.
Let's see if I got to any of him. All right. So Walker Kessler, I got to I'm not getting to him on FanDuel. So I'm going to say no.
You could artificially get to a little bit. And again, this is the beauty of the Sims tool is that there are things that you can do with the ROI boost to get to a little bit. I just don't find it to be all that necessary today. There are just so many better plays on today's slate.
Christopher Maldonado says best 4,900 and under small forward on FanDuel. Eric, 4,900 and under small forward FanDuel. Is there a preferred choice for you there? I'm pulling it up for myself as well.
Didn't I talk about Christian Wood before 4,800? I love
He's not
Christian
a small
Wood.
Forward.
Oh, small forward. Okay, thank you. I'm as if you couldn't tell, there are some things where I have to well, you gotta get this posted. Here we are. That's an interesting one. Can I go Royce O'Neal 4,300? Lonnie Walker 4,600? I mean, they're both pretty popular.
The answer for me is Lonnie Walker. If he's just filling in one spot, 49. It's Lonnie Walker.
He's coming up so much in our data right now. I'm going to mute him a tiny bit, and maybe I'll regret that. But I think this is a really good day. I think to be spread out a little bit more on FanDuel than normal. There's a lot of underpriced plays.
Uploading these lineups.
Yeah, I need to get a dummy set in on both just so that I don't get to that point of pain. Because I literally talked yesterday about how I'm doing such a good job of getting my lineups in early, and now I just suck on a day like today.
All right, pressing the button.
Did you play any Bruce Brown? Or, I mean, we'll see the starting lineup here. That'll be something to pay attention to. But he's a guy that I'm really debating playing a lot more of than the field.
Bruce Brown. So let me check for, I know I didn't on DraftKings, but FanDuel, all I did was just press contest generator, run. Then I just simmed it and then just selected the top 150 lineups and uploaded it. So let's see what I actually got to here of Bruce Brown on FanDuel. Bruce Brown, I ended up with, you know, it's funny. We haven't projected for 6.7% ownership, Eric. I got to him in 6.7% of my lineups.
Oh my God, Greg, that's so wild.
So that's the answer, 6.7%.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
Did you get to him?
13%. So I'm double.
Right. There we go. All right. Figured
it out.
And
Bam as well. Playing a lot of Bam out of bio. Oh boy, this will be fun.
Kyrie Irving is officially out today. No real surprises there. But let's see. We've got a ton of questions in the Discord channel. So let's bang out as many of these as we can before we get to lock. And one more time, if you guys have not done it, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, stick around for the post-lock show because we're still waiting on a bunch of news, most notably that Pacers starting lineup, which is going to have a really big impact on lineups, especially if we end up seeing TJ McConnell starting. Next question to answer here. Let's see where. Okay. Hef Love, any reservations playing Scotty Barnes today? Scotty Barnes not really somebody I'm getting to.
Scotty Barnes has been in a lot of winning lineups this season. We're going to see some artificial boosting coming his way very, very shortly. But remember, OG Anunoby in for today. That's going to change the complexion of his outlook for this game.
Yeah, so a couple of things hurt Scotty Barnes, and I don't have any exposure to him. Number one is that he's played well, so his price has gone up. The other point that Eric just mentioned, OG Anunoby is back. So you've got just like the worst situation possible for value. Price up in conjunction with a player coming back from injury. It's not the best for the points per dollar value of Scotty Barnes. He still has a ceiling, but it's not a good enough points per dollar play for me to get there. Iron Maiden 2 wants us to rank the Nets on DK. Let's see. Nets exposure for me. I'm at the part of the show where I have way too many tabs pulled up.
That's me every day, but yeah, especially today.
Ben Simmons 1 for me. It is Cam Thomas 2. Lonnie Walker 3. Do you have an answer?
Oh, sorry. I'm rerunning my DK stuff here. We've got still 6 minutes, so I was hoping that it was going to pop up here. I can tell you my last run, Marvin Bagley, by far the guy I'm getting most to. We're just talking value, right?
He just asked who our favorite Nets were, and your answer was Marvin.
Favorite Nets, yeah, cool. So shut up. Ben Simmons, Lonnie Walker, and then Trendon Watford, a 3K for DK. Just a way to get different.
All right. The next question that we have here is Kapanikella wants to know about Lauri Markkanen. Another guy in Lauri Markkanen. Here's where it's tough. There are so many games and players on the slate that if you had a lineup with Lauri Markkanen, it's not the end of the world, but not a priority. There's other guys I'd rather get to than Lauri Markkanen, especially if I'm going to be expensive at the power forward spot. So Markkanen, not really a priority for me. If you're just filling in your last lineup with him, cool. But let me look and see what is the actual price point on him and who is priced around him that I might like better.
You know what is fascinating though? He's got a pretty decent, when we're talking about standard deviations, there's guys who have extreme ranges like a Steph Curry, a Damian Lillard, where you're going to see him go for 75. You're going to see him go for 35. It doesn't really surprise you. Pretty tight range of outcomes for Lauri Markkanen. Obviously a lot of centers, a lot of big men are going to have that kind of a stipulation to him. He's obviously a 4 playing alongside Walker Kessler, but he still hasn't had that kind of a problem over the last year of sample size. I always like to get to Lauri Markkanen just a little bit over the field positionally. It always kind of works out to be able to do it. The problem is I just like Zion Williamson a lot more if I'm going to go that route today.
All right. We've got Clintwood 83 wants to know, in single entry, is this a stars and scrubs slate or a balanced lineup, or does it matter? In general, I mean, it's going to be like who the best options end up being. If TJ McConnell ends up starting for the Pacers, that does really change the dynamics of the slate. Mm-hmm. In general, my lineups are much more geared towards the mid-range on DraftKings than stars and scrubs.
Cam Reddish is available to play. I would have loved to see him out as well. I don't know if I just missed that piece of news, but Christian Wood making a pretty large stand for in FanDuel. Yeah, everything you say is completely accurate. TJ McConnell, when we get that news, it's going to change my lineups drastically in the next 33 minutes. And so one way or another, it's going to change.
So right now, some of my most rostered players are, other than Bagley, but it's, DeJounte Murray, it's Şengün, Ben Simmons, Trae Young, CJ McCollum, also a lot of the most popular players on the slate. But I think a lot of their ownership is warranted for today. And those are guys who are just priced in the mid-range generally. So with that in mind, I think this is a much better slate to be in the mid-range than to be stars and scrubs. The next question here is from... Oh, there's so many of them. All right. I want to bang out these as quickly as possible.
Love banging.
Einsteinium, is it reasonable to transfer some of my Bagley exposure to TJ McConnell? Same price on DK. Play both of them. I think that's the way.
I'm going to have an
infinite amount. Bagley. I don't want to get off Marvin Bagley.
Yeah. What's weird though is Bagley, I'm only getting 60% of on DK. I thought I was going to end up getting to way, way more of him. And part of that is that right now I do have TJ McConnell as the guy who's starting, mainly because I don't want to miss the boat on having like optimal lineups if that news breaks that way. But if it doesn't, I'll obviously just switch and adjust, and it shouldn't be too hard to be able to figure that out. But I would want a lot of both of them, and so I'm artificially boosting Marvin Bagley to get a little bit more, just so that my lineups don't sit like I would want a ton of both. Is what I'm getting at.
The next question that we have here, we have a super chat from Nicholas Lynn, who says higher ceiling, McCollum or Van Vliet. So between those two, I think the higher ceiling is on CJ McCollum.
Yes, very much so. I'm CJ McCollum is just an absolute smash today.
One final thing before we get to lock here, guys. We have a promo going on. NBA treat. So we just had Halloween yesterday. And in honor of Halloween, we have a promo. You can sign up for our NBA lineup generator for less than $5 when you sign up for the first time. So if you guys are ever in a pinch like this, right? Maybe there's only 5 minutes to go until lock. A bunch of players have been rolled out and going, oh my God, I don't know who to play. I don't know which lineups I want. The lineup generator is going to have you covered, because with just a couple clicks of the button, you pull up the NBA lineup generator, you figure out, do you want to play a chalky lineup, a balanced lineup, a contrarian lineup? And from there, it is going to give you up to 20 lineups that you could export to FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever you're playing, and you can enter them directly into contests. This is the most beginner-friendly tool that we have over at Stokastic.com. So if you're somebody, like I said, you're either short on time, or if you just want a lot of the legwork done for you, check out the lineup generator. Now is the time to sign up. Less than $5 when you sign up for that first time. Link below, NBA treat. Karis LeVert is in, by the way, which I'm happy about. I didn't need more players getting rolled out at this point.
Dude, FanDuel isn't even going to hit 80% full. So you're playing completely rake free and then some over there. It's beautiful.
Yep. I've got my lineups, I think, entered.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, though. Mitchell, Strus, Okoro, George Niang starting. Okay.
I can't believe they didn't want to go back to Dean Wade after last night.
Oh, he was so good.
So, you know what's funny?
We were going back and forth,
it.
just like, is Dean Wade playing basketball right now? Where is Dean Wade?
He was on the court. He was doing something else, though. It wasn't really basketball, but he had four wide open threes.
Three.
Jumping jacks. Dude, he had 4 wide open threes and came nowhere close to making any of them.
It was
atrocious. And then he just kind of gave up on shooting after that. And then they took him off the court. And also the team got destroyed. Last night's slate was one after the first game. I thought it was going to go way worse for me. It didn't go well. Don't get me right. It did not go well, but I thought I was going to get obliterated yesterday. And then just most of the players sucked on the slate. So
I had a run. I finished like 40th ending in the $15. If Russell Westbrook doesn't go nuclear and beat out Donovan Mitchell, I had a legitimate shot. So that was fun. That would have been really fun.
But after the first game this late, did you not think it was going to be a disaster?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought I lost 100% of entry fees after the first game. And I didn't even have that much of like Okoro and Wade. And I think Okoro was the one guy who played well, right? From what I remember.
This. Wizards are starting Mike Muscala at center today.
Fudge, mother trucker, son of a biscuit, mother.
What is his? I didn't even look at him today. What is his salary on
3K? Of course, it's 3K.
Let me make sure. 3K on DraftKings. What is he on FanDuel? 3,800 on FanDuel. It's really hard to get behind the 3,800 price point. I'm willing to play him at 3K on DK. Are you not?
I mean, how much value do we need? If we get TJ McConnell, I won't be doing it that much. If we don't get TJ McConnell, I'm probably going to fire too much. I mean, the thing is, center carries like opportunity cost on every slate. And that's the one thing that keeps you away from like jamming. He doesn't have power forward eligibility still, right?
Correct.
Good. Okay. That makes me less inclined to have to like go crazy.
No, not go crazy. But RJ Barrett was just ruled out too. Fun times here.
Yeah,
all right, so
I thought RJ Barrett was going to get ruled out, but
Nets starting lineup, by the way: Simmons, Thomas, Bridges, O'Neal, Finney-Smith. But talking on Mike Muscala, I don't want to like jam him into lineups, but he's somebody who I had none of that I'm now willing to have in my player pool.
That is the correct way of saying that. Oh, I can't wait to use this NBA late swap tool. I cannot wait. It's going to be so fun. We are going to be utilizing it like crazy here.
This is going to be a slate where we're going to have to be swapping quite a bit today, and kind of annoying too, because actually, Eric, I have dinner plans tonight, so I was only going to play just 20 lineups on DraftKings, then because FanDuel overlaid, and then I just built the 150 really quick and put them up there. Now I'm stuck swapping all night.
Just get straight to the sex and just skip dinner. Just
with my brother? That would be weird. That would be uncomfortable for me.
I just assumed it was a lady friend. I assumed
brothers?
Wrong.
You have 3 brothers, right?
2. I'm the middle. I'm the sandwich.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Based on what you just said. Oh my God.
Jake Lindland, does Muscala starting impact Capella minutes? No.
What happens in the Dakotas? Like, why are there even 2 of them?
Buddy, how else do you practice if it's not on your cousin?
Apparently with your siblings, according to you.
I'm just... Barrett's out. Eric, we're probably going to watch. We have a special breed of chat.
He can't afford it.
Oh, I forgot to get my crowns. Let's see. How many are we going to get today? I bet it's 20,000.
Jake Lindland left us a super chat. He wants to know, does Mike Muscala starting impact Capella's minutes? No, it is no impact.
Just literally answered that question, but you were too busy trying to make fun of me thinking of your next joke. It's fine.
We got the Pelicans starting lineup. It's exactly as expected. We got Hawkins in there. McCollum, Jones, Hawkins, Williamson, Valanciunas. Hawkins is one of my favorite cheap plays on DraftKings for today.
Yes, he is. Same here.
Let's talk about
Holiday, everything there. Say that again. Let's talk about the Knicks. Let's do it.
Let's talk about the Knicks because we have for the, by the way, starting lineup for the Heat, Lowry, Hero.
We got Nembhard. No TJ McConnell in my life. I didn't think it was going to happen, but again, I wanted to have it be known that we were going to play 100% of him if he started. TJ McConnell, 5,300 over on FanDuel. No, thank you.
On DraftKings, cheap price point, are you going to get any exposure to McConnell coming off the bench?
Maybe a little bit. Let me rerun it. I got to rerun it, and then we'll run. Let's go through the Knicks. We'll do everything in its own time.
Knicks, no RJ Barrett today. He is out. Let me look at some of the on-off court numbers for RJ Barrett last year. The Knicks have pretty much the same team. It's nice when we get players that are ruled out early in the year when the team is basically the exact same core as the year before, because then we could go and look at some of the on-off court numbers from the previous year, and we could figure out what it ultimately ends up meaning for RJ Barrett being out for the Knicks. All right, Barrett.
Oh, this rate is going to change a lot. I'm just going to October 1st last year. We'll export
RJ
that.
Barrett. All right. So
Oh my. Emmanuel Quickly. Are we going to play some Emmanuel Quickly? They didn't even pick up his option. So that's the thing that makes me not want to play Emmanuel Quickly today.
Quickly's fucking good.
I think he's good. Why didn't the Knicks pick him up? He's a good defender too. That's the main thing.
I think they'll sign him to a contract extension.
Let me find the news where they didn't pick up his
It was prior to last year.
Let me double check. Emmanuel Quickly.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it prior to last year? They didn't pick up
it's more recent that I saw. 3rd year option. Knicks Emmanuel Quickly failed to reach extension.
Yeah, they didn't decline his option though.
Oh, okay. So basically he's going to just be, unless they figure it out, 4th team option. Where's that at? Unlike Quickly's contract, which contains a 4th year team option.
By the way,
okay. So
they did pick up his option. They just haven't agreed to a contract extension with him.
There it is. Okay. That's what I saw, was that there was something going on there, because I'm like, that made no sense to me when I was reading that blurb the other day, where I was like, I'm pretty positive Quickly somebody who's interesting. So this is why we're playing Emmanuel Quickly. 0.97 DraftKings points per minute, 0.94 FanDuel points per minute. Just regularly, you go in and we take RJ Barrett off the floor. Man, why is Admiral Funds being so slow lately? The export tab's too good to pass up. I have to keep that forever. Emmanuel Quickly, kind of the same base rates, I guess, on both sides of it. But Jalen Brunson goes up about 0.06 fantasy points per minute. Julius Randle, barely, 0.06 as well. So a little bit more Brunson, a little bit more Randle. They're a little bit more appealing. But we got to remember Obi Toppin not there. Guess it doesn't really matter. Only 499 minutes absent RJ Barrett. That doesn't matter at all. Derrick Rose didn't play really at all. 233 minutes there, absent it. So the main things I'm picking up, Mitchell Robinson, right around a fantasy point per minute guy, goes up a little bit there, north of 1.04 FanDuel points per minute without him off the floor. The main thing is that him and Hartenstein, we know that they're going to be splitting the center minutes, so it's pretty much unaffected. I think this is a little bit of a bump up for Randall, a little bit of a bump up for Brunson. And then if we get the Quickly, I just want to kind of see that 5th starter here before we get there. Josh Hart is the most likely candidate there, but I think there's a chance for Emmanuel Quickly to possibly see a little bit of a bump as well.
Yeah, so nobody gains much from a per minute basis. There's not a guy who gains
small, minute minutes. Yeah. It's very small.
Hawks, Young, Murray, Hunter, Bay, Capella. So
shit, we're back to that crap.
What is the price on Sadiq Bey now? Boy, there's just so many moving parts here.
It's fun though. These are the slates I prefer because I feel like I'm doing something with my life. There's other slates I feel like I'm not doing anything with my life.
Yeah, no. That's misguided energy. We're watching, and by the way, I'm in no different of a scenario than you. We're watching basketball and we're putting money on how many stats somebody's going to accumulate. It's a very dumb concept. It's very fun, but let's not try to pretend we're doing anything meaningful with ourselves. What you did with your brothers, that's meaningful and borderline illegal, depending where you live. Watching basketball, not all that meaningful.
Alec Burks ruled out.
That's not going to impact my lineups very much.
Well, it can't because Detroit and Portland, they already locked. So that's a weird one to have come in now. Yay, if you played Hosser Thompson with me. Let's go.
Is he just off to a crazy start?
No. Mainly because Alec Burks, that game already locked, and that's a dude who got ruled out after lock.
Crazy start.
No,
I don't think anything.
Nothing started. That's what I said. I'm literally just saying that, like, that's just another guy that after lock getting ruled out. Hopefully, you played all the Marvin Bagley. I mean, Alec Burks out. Jaden Ivey season. If you got to 4,800 Jaden Ivey on FanDuel, I did not. So that's interesting.
What is the price?
Yeah, Cade Bum too. Yeah, Cade Cunningham. No Alec Burks. Alec Burks loves himself a shot or 20. So there you go.
Sadiq Bey's 4,500 on DK.
It's not really that appealing to me.
What is he on FanDuel? Sadiq Bey on FanDuel. It would help if I spelled his name correctly.
I would, but you...
No. Yeah, he's 5,000 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DK. I'm not dying to play him at 5K on FanDuel.
No.
The big impact of this, though, is Jalen Johnson was somebody who I was going to be playing. I like him far less now.
I will play 0. This really sucks because he's a good young player. I like Jalen Johnson. I don't know what inspired this change, considering didn't they win their last 2 with him starting?
They did. He also has gotten, maybe it's just they're trying to limit his potential to get into foul trouble.
Why does that matter? You just got done blowing out Milwaukee in Milwaukee. You got done blowing out Minnesota at home, and now they're changing the starting lineup because Atlanta gonna Atlanta.
I'm not saying it matters to me. I'm just trying to think of reasons that they might have done it.
Okay. There are no reasons other than maybe he was a bad boy. I don't know.
I'm going to guess that it was the fouls. Let's see. What did that change for me? There's like some other players that got mixed in. It's not like I had a crazy amount of Jalen Johnson. It didn't have an insane impact to my lineups. I'm not going to be playing Jalen Johnson anymore, though.
Nope. CSV edit. Oh, man. I wish I could be sharing everything that's going on here right now with the Sims tool or with the late swap tool, because it's a lot of fun what is happening. I mean, my lineups are just completely different, but it's so easy with our data.
We could pull it up. Well, actually, Jordan doesn't have a CSV of lineups that he built out. So we'll have to, we'll figure out a way to do this for future slates, where maybe I could just send over a CSV of lineups to Jordan, and then he could just plug it into the late swap tool, and then we just run through everything. By the way, I feel bad. We got Louis 23, or no, it wasn't Louis. It was William Whiteman in the chat said, I had Burks. Yeah, that sucks.
That sucks.
Nothing you could have done about it there.
If you play this NBA season out enough times, you're going to get Paul Georged. You are. And I can't tell you enough that if you want to go back through the annals of time, God knows I love annals of time based on these conversations, telling you go back in time, you find yourself in approximately 2000, beginning of 2000. You have Greg Ehrenberg and Eric Lindquist on a live before lock, and a very similar situation to this one, no less than, just about 3 years ago now. And Paul George had too much coffee. Nobody reported on the fact that he was feeling bad all day long and gets ruled out 20 seconds before lock. And I don't notice it until 20 seconds after lock. And I lost every dollar that I put into that slate. And it was not enjoyable. So there you go.
Should I tell him that that anal and they're different words?
They are, but I was kind of playing it up. I don't know.
All right. Eric with his big brain there. He knew all along that it's not Annals of Time. Wasn't that like a South Park video game?
I think it was.
Annals of Time, I think.
Yes. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Let me see. South Park video games.
We are the Sea Otters.
There was... Yeah, there might have been one called the Annals of Time. I don't remember anymore. Anyway, I'm updating all my lineups. I'm throwing this into our late swap tool for myself and seeing what ends up changing with my lineups because, yeah, stuff has gone down. We've got RJ Barrett out for the Knicks. Did you update your lineups to see how this impacted your Knicks exposure?
Not yet. I'm still working. This is wild. I'm almost there.
All right. I gotta pull
I'm getting
this.
there.
I've got news guys messaging me too. We're comparing how many tabs we have open on our computer. The difference though, news guys, I know you have a lot up, but you're not talking to people in the same way that I am while I'm trying to also alter my lineups and whatnot. And it is a lot to look at here on the screen.
And you have to talk to me while you're doing it, which is like the worst.
Yeah, I have to explain to them what words mean.
I know what anal means.
In context, it seems like you don't. Ooh, good start for...
It's where you rub your tummies together, right? No?
Shaedon Sharpe, 2 minutes into the game, has 3 rebounds, an assist, and a block.
Chill.
Marvin Bagley bro. On the board. Marvin Bagley is...
Hey, we didn't get 0.
Yeah, it's already going better than the Dean Wade from last night. We've got Marvin Bagley. I don't know how Marvin Bagley only shot 1 free throw, but something happened where he only shot 1 free throw. What would be the scenario where Bagley... Oh, no, he was 2 of 2. Okay, he made the second one, too. I was just looking before it was updated.
Oscar Thompson, he cannot shoot a basketball. I'm very aware of that. Have you seen some of his shooting results in the early going of the season? I was digging through that earlier because he is... it's not pretty, we'll put it that way, but the guy can rebound a basketball like no other.
He has had some crazy, crazy rebounding stats so far this year.
We should have played Ayton. I can tell 3 minutes into this game, I'm upset because Marvin Bagley was starting in a professional basketball game, and I didn't play the center on the other side.
I do know one of the best bets of the day from Odd Chopper was earlier in the day. I think it was Ayton plus 140 to have a double-double.
Never saw that. I would have just slammed that.
We got the Knicks starting lineup.
Slam everybody down. Wanted.
Got the Knicks starting lineup. Brunson, Grimes, Hart, Randall, and Robinson. So you were right. We do have Josh Hart in the starting lineup. How much of a priority does this make Josh Hart now that he's a starter?
Not much of one. I doubt we see a crazy influx of minutes for him here, and he's not a good fantasy point per minute guy. He is a really good rebounder, so I don't want to besmirch his double-double upside. It's actually something that exists. I just don't think that we really need to go there here on a 13-game slate. There's so much mid-range value, and obviously we didn't get the McConnell news that we were hoping for and things of that nature. I'm going to get to still a little bit McConnell on DK, it looks like. But having some exposure. Yeah, FanDuel's I'm not going to get to any, it doesn't look like, because I'm finishing everything up over there, doing the NBA late swap tool there. We still have plenty of time, so I'm not panicking Paul George style here yet, but very much Josh Hart. Maybe a little bit on FanDuel. There's a little bit of stock upside. Nothing crazy, though. I just find him to be kind of an unappealing fantasy guy.
Now, in a second, what my lineups end up looking like. The price point on Josh Hart. I'm going to play Josh Hart. I don't know what my lineups are going to look like, but at $4,700, I'm going to end up with some amount of Josh Hart. Over on FanDuel, he's $4,700. He's $4,400 on DK. It's such a cheap price point.
$4,700 for a guy that's going to play 26 minutes. I don't know. How many minutes are you going to put in?
No, I think let
me run this one more time. Let me go back to last year.
Jordan, pull up our projections. What do we have Josh Hart projected for? I think he plays over 30 minutes.
Well, then you're going to play him. Obviously, that's a pretty sensitive thing. Yeah, if you have him for 30 minutes, then I'm going to freaking play him. Screw it.
Let's see. What do we have in our projections? This will be the moment of truth when Jordan puts it on screen here.
All right, let me redo some shit. I need.
What do you need?
I need some help with this. This is getting grotesque.
Here we go. Josh Hart, we have projected for a little bit over 29 minutes.
Well, then there you go. Then we're going to get to him. Then take back what I said. 4,700 on FanDuel. Hasn't changed. It hasn't updated on my end yet. Let me refresh this. Oh, man. I love these slates, though. We still have 2.5K of you hanging out here talking through this. You guys are the best, but these slates, they are the most profitable because if you are sitting by your computer and you are actively putting in the work and using our data, you're going to be better off. But all right, 30. I'm just going to put them into 30 minutes for right now on FanDuel 4,700.
Buddy.
I'm still going to play. What happened?
Marvin Bagley, 5 points and a rebound 4 minutes into the game, and everybody else on the Pistons is in foul trouble. Everybody on the Pistons is in foul trouble. We've got Isaiah Stewart with 2 fouls. We got Azor Thompson with 2 fouls. Bagley is about to grab all of the rebounds. All of them.
Well, he has one of them so far. Yeah, Sir turned it over again. Played a lot of that, dude. 2, 2, and 1 with 2 fouls. I mean, him and Stewart are still on the floor right now. Stewart. And now you have no Alec Burks. Who the hell is going to play for Detroit coming in here next?
They've got Joe Harris. They've been really opposed to playing Jaden Ivey much this year.
Oh, yeah. They do not like Jaden Ivey.
But they're going to have to play Ivey now.
Oh, yeah. He's the nuts. If you had Jaden Ivey somehow, some way in your pool and got him up there, he is going to absolutely just Hulk smash more than likely.
This bench is fucking terrible. I'm looking at
it's
names
horrendous
on the bench, and it's like, who are these dudes? Kazalone, Sasser, Amudi. They're not real people. Dude, we're looking.
This mother effer isn't even real, except for that chick's really hot.
We're looking at big Marvin Bagley minutes now.
Yes, he was. I already had him in for 33 minutes. So,
but there's always some wiggle room with that. There's none anymore. They have to play him a bunch.
This is true.
They don't have a choice. They have to.
I want to play a lot of Emmanuel quickly. I really, really, really want to play a lot of Emmanuel quickly.
So do it.
I'm going to do that instead of Hart.
I mean, you can play both of them.
I could play both of them. You know, that's probably the best idea you've ever had. I can just play both of them.
You could. There's nothing stopping you. Let me see what I have.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
For the Knicks. So, yeah, I'm getting some exposure to Josh Hart at $4,700 and some to Quickly at $55 on FanDuel. No issue with that. DraftKings salaries. Josh Hart is $4,400.
Swap-temize, please.
$5,400.
Thank you.
I'm definitely more apt to play them on FanDuel than DK.
I would agree with that. I'm definitely going to get to more of them over there. There's some weird ones popping up. Obi Toppin's starting to show up a little bit for me on FanDuel. 4,400. This has probably been the most FanDuel-centric show we've had in a while because I just kind of like saw the overlay and said, F it, this is what I'm doing with my life today.
I mean, it was a good...
Super chats? Super chats. Let's do it.
Are there more super chats? I didn't see them. I didn't get the thing here. All right. Here we go. Yep, I see one here. TJ McConnell in single entry, no, now that he's not starting.
No.
And then is TJ a full fade now that he's not starting? You could still get exposure to him on DraftKings, but I would not play him in single entry and I would not prioritize him.
I would not do any of those things either.
Check Discord. Oh, another super chat. Corey Bomber, Westbrook or Rozier straight up on DK. Interesting. Westbrook or Rozier?
I also like to live dangerously.
Do you have a preference between Westbrook and Rozier?
Rozier. I can tell you that without looking.
I am going to also say Rozier. I don't know what to make of the Clippers minutes today. I think they could get weird.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, except for Bones Highland. I'm not concerned about Bones Highland. They will just let him go out and chuck and run and do all of that shit. So I have no issue with Bones Highland.
Next question here is from... okay, Jay wanted to ask us about the 2-game late night slate. All right, so Jay, 2-game late slate. Let me look at who's name.
I'm going to play so much Bruce Brown on FanDuel even. I just want to let everybody know that before it happens. 24%. He's like what, 7% owned over there. That is my dude. I also, how much did I get? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I have 0 Jaden Ivey. That would have been a lot of fun, huh?
Did you check in?
No, not yet. I'm just pointing out that I'm mad.
All right.
I got 2% TJ McConnell on FanDuel. He's in 2 lineups.
Jay is asking about the 2-game late slate. Did you look at that one at all?
I have not looked at anything else other than this because there's just too much to do.
All right. I'm just building lineups really quickly for it. These are the players I got the most at each position, Jay. Point guard, Bones Highland. Shooting guard, D'Angelo Russell. Small forward, LeBron James. Power forward, also LeBron James. So I'll say Keegan Murray at power forward because he's my second most rostered. And then center, Christian Wood. Those are the ones that popped up the most to me on the 2-game slate. The Miggy Roberts says, does Walker not getting the start change his projection? Yes. Lonnie Walker is not as good looking now.
I can find out how much Lonnie I got it to. Yeah, 4% Lonnie Walker is all I have on FanDuel now.
I was pretty confident he was going to start earlier and then ended up not being the case.
Yeah, so I'm just going to play the usual suspects there.
It's always weird when teams do that because he started the second half in place of Dinwiddie last game. So you just would have assumed that he was going to start, but then the starting lineup came out and he's not in it.
Yeah, Simmons, Royce O'Neal, those are the guys that I'm playing the most of there for sure.
Tristan wants to know, are you still playing a lot of Kuzma tonight, Eric, even though Muscala is starting?
Yes, Muscala is going to play around the perimeter. He's just whatever. I mean, there's no reason I have to worry about that.
All right. The next question here is from Heflove. Says Cam Thomas or Smart last minute on DK. That's going to be Cam Thomas for me.
Same.
And then finally, Mod Dub T, Hero or DeJounte Murray tonight.
Love.
And then Blue Duck left us a super chat. Blue Duck wants to know Fred Van Vliet or Westbrook on FanDuel. That is Fred Van Vliet.
Same. Yeah, if it's anybody in Westbrook, I'm going to go the opposite side.
Not necessarily anybody, but
a lot of people. A lot of people.
Right. Let's see if there's anything else that I missed as far as questions. Thank you guys very much for all of the... Oh, here one. Iron Maiden 2 asked us Jabari and Şengün or Simmons and Cam Thomas for a DK single entry. Can you pull up the player compare tool for that one, Jordan? It is very close. He wanted to know Jabari and Şengün or Simmons and Cam Thomas. So funny, 2 players from the exact same team. Yep. And then we got another 2v2 from Tristan. And well, that's actually kind of, well, he has 3 players in one of them, though. It's a 2v3.
That's cool.
It's so Jabari and Şengün on one side, Jordan, and then Simmons and Cam Thomas on the other side. And then Tristan had asked us Muscala and Edwards or Kuzma and Lonnie Walker. I'm going to say, well, I don't really love either of those combinations.
I don't either. Start over.
Start over.
2 minutes before lock of the next slate of games, which is very, very important to have your lineups updated before.
All right. We got the answer here. So Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons won 58-42 over Şengün and Jabari Smith. We do have more ownership going to the Simmons and Cam Thomas side, but I still prefer that side of it considering the difference there.
All right, got those lineups up. I'm playing like an identical amount of Josh Hart and Emmanuel quickly, so that is surely to go well for me. Let's get these updated before this is too late.
I ran my FanDuel lineups through the weight swap tool, so whatever it gave me is whatever it gave me. There was no way that I was going to be able to do both on my own.
Clue.
I can check right now and see what it gave me. Here are the players that after running everything through the late swap tool that I got the most of on FanDuel. At point guard, it was Ben Simmons and DeJounte Murray. At shooting guard, DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole, and CJ McCollum. At small forward, Kuzma. Still got to a lot of Lonnie Walker, which Probably more of Lonnie Walker than I would want to play, but it is a little bit too late for me to do anything about that. Power forward, Marvin Bagley, already locked. Ben Simmons and Kyle Kuzma, still getting to a lot of Kuzma there. Center, Marvin Bagley. Christian Wood did end up being my second most rostered center over on FanDuel, Eric. So I am on Wood today. What do you think about that? Pay for that content. Question that we got that just came in to our Discord channel. Oh, just a follow-up from Iron Maiden 2 said, thanks for the help. You guys killed it today. Thank you very much, Iron Maiden. And for everybody else, the show is done. We've reached the end of our time here. If you guys have not done it yet, do us a big favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Show lasted 90 minutes and really the action never stopped. Lots of players getting ruled out. These 13-game slates really end up being a clusterfuck sometimes. So for everybody who stuck through, thousands of you who stayed until the end, we really do appreciate you. Thank you guys for watching. And tomorrow should be a much more reasonable slate without all the late swaps. But you never know. You never know what ends up happening. So tomorrow, see you guys back here on the YouTube channel. Peace out.